through the final turn. Heck up to the line then. Schumacher surely goes fastest, and that is a brilliant time. That is incredible. He smashed the best time through the final sector by a mile.
He has triumphed all over the world. Now Formula One's champion is set for a glorious homecoming. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari on pole. He is odds on for his 6th victory in a row. 130,000 of his adoring fans have come to worship the maestro at Hockenheim. That is our scenario for the German Grand Prix. Hello there, good afternoon, welcome to the paddock. Who can stop him? Where's it all going to end? My advice to you is quite simple. Enjoy the brilliance of a genuine sporting superstar while you can. Mind you, they've been slim pickings here at his home Grand Prix, just a couple of wins in 11 starts, but surely it's only a matter of time before Michael Schumacher clinches world title number 7. 10 victories, 100 points. Another one today equals the record for the season he set just a couple of years ago. Barrichello so consistent. Ferrari have had a car finish in all but 2 of the last 112 races. Quite amazing. Button relegated down the grid. He's got to watch out for Trulli. Trulli definitely leaving Renault. That's just been announced. Alonso, he'll be 23 on Thursday. Montoya up front for BMW Williams. Raikkonen and Coulthard, they are side by side on the second row. Those seemingly unbreakable Ferraris could win the Constructors' title today. They have to finish both cars and score at least 13 points. Renault looking good for second. BAR, they're our featured team this weekend, and they would disagree with that. Mark, got to start with a man with Michael Schumacher. An unbelievable performance, particularly in the last sector in qualifying.
The last sector of his qualifying lap was absolutely mind-blowing. I don't think anybody could reproduce that. I'd be surprised even if Michael could reproduce it. But it was a lap which started off a little bit on the cool side. He was a couple of tenths away from what the first sector was for everybody who'd qualified that far. And then all of a sudden he just picked it all up. And the stadium complex, he blew everyone away by about 3.5 to 4 tenths of a second. And it just set the pace. But then we had about 10 cars to run, but this guy stayed on pole position for the remainder.
That wave showed he knew he was there, he knew he was on pole. Juan Pablo Montoya was last to run in qualifying. He was absolutely brilliant here last year. He's alongside Michael Schumacher up front.
Yeah, and we like that because we like to see Schumacher and Montoya on the front row. That's going to be an awesome scrap into turn 1. But Montoya now, the Williams is getting better. BMW have got something underneath them. They've got some new bits and bobs what they put on for the car for this weekend. The only thing that's a little bit troublesome is Pizzonia is further down the grid. Williams desperately need 2 strong cars.
Also back down the grid, Jenson Button relegated 10 places after that to engine change, but going really well in qualifying, 3rd quickest.
He was 3rd quickest, and he was 3rd quickest in his rightful way because that's where he should have been. Unfortunately, an engine loss puts him 10 spots down, Jim. He's 13th on the grid. But what he has now is a car under him which he can race with. If he just works with his car during the race, he's got a number of people in front of him he can pick off. His smooth style complements this circuit. Yeah, I think Jensen's going to be big today. He's
starting in the middle of the grid. McLarens have been down there this season. As a former McLaren man, you must be delighted. They're back at the sharp end.
Well, it's great. It's great to see everybody with a smile on their face down there. Mercedes-Benz, home circuit for them. And you've got Kimi here, very forceful at all times inside the McLaren. But with this revised car, they're really getting their teeth stuck in. I think Kimi's growing in confidence. But the bigger surprise for me was David. DC turned a lap in, which was exceptional. He's put himself back in the marketplace. Everybody knows he can do it. We've seen him do it time and time again. 13 times a Grand Prix winner. And I think McLaren now getting the car which is strong for the duration of the race.
That is their best qualifying performance of the season. Just 1 second separating the top 9 cars on the grid. Then Mark, just chat us through it.
Michael Schumacher takes pole position number 61 in his career. It is 1.8 seconds quicker than Montoya's pole last year. Montoya with a Williams on the front row. Fantastic for McLaren and Mercedes-Benz with the 2 guys there. Alonso out-qualifies Jarno Trulli. Trulli a man on the move for next season. Barrichello a little bit disappointed in the Ferrari. Sato there in 8th position. Panish takes the revised Toyota into 9th. Pizzonia, new boy for Williams, is there in 10th. The 2 Jaguars take 11th and 12th. Jenson Button unhappy with 13th. He should have been 3rd on the grid. Fischer Keller, the first of the Saubers. D'Amato not that impressive in the Toyota. Massa 16th. The 2 Jordans. Pantano out qualifying Heidfeld. The 2 Minardis make up the back of the grid with Bruni and Baumgartner.
This fellow's gear always puts me to game. His name is to shame, I should say. His name is Kai Abel. He does my job for RTL in Germany over here. Kai, I want to talk to you about Michael Schumacher. Is he as popular here as ever?
I mean, if you see the stands out there, you just see the red hats out, so you know he's really popular. There were times when he has to come in the trunk of a car because he doesn't want it to be seen. So I mean, he's quite very popular. Maybe the most popular sportsman in all Germany.
We see we've been hearing reports that people might be getting a bit bored with all his success. Not true then?
No, that's not true. It's maybe for the people more from the outside, but for the fans, they just want to see the hero win. And our TV average view is always rising, so they just want to see him win, no matter how.
What do you make of the relationship with his brother, with Ralf Schumacher?
It's outside, it's the brother relationship, but on track, he's the enemy. It's an enemy like anyone else. They want to beat each other up, and that's it. They're really tough on the track, but away from the track, they are like normal brothers.
You work a lot with Michael Schumacher. Give us your best guess. How long is he going to carry on at this sport for?
I guess as long as they don't take him out, he will drive Formula One. Otherwise, he will drive maybe cars with a roof, but he won't stop racing.
Really? You think he's going to carry on doing something else after Formula One, do you?
Honestly, I think he will drive Formula One maybe even longer than 2006. It's the recent contract at the moment, but I guess he loves to racing, and this is all he likes in life. It's racing. So I guess we have a few more years with him, unfortunately, for you.
Just finally, where do you get the shirt and tie from?
It's stolen.
Kai, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much,
for your
Jim.
time. Okay. Right then, our featured team this weekend are BAR, and they've had a pretty difficult time as well with Jenson Button relegated those 10 places on the grid, and yesterday Takuma Sato had a nasty crash in practice too. That meant he was short of track time for qualifying. Here is, though, Takuma analysing his qualifying lap with race engineer Jock Clear.
Okay, Taku, I think it's probably worth our while just going through the lap on video, and if there's anything on the data that comes up, then we can get obviously starting from the beginning of the lap.
Yep. Approaching to turn 1 is pretty quick, it's 300k nearly, and click the curves, need a nice and stable here.
No problem through there?
Yeah, no problem. The problem was a little bit here, had a bit of a moment under the braking, and maybe it cost us a little bit.
Yeah. Car's not bottoming along here?
Not really, just kissing nicely, so it should be very sweet for that.
Okay.
Very heavy braking. I think one of the...
This is where Jenson made his mistake in qualifying, but yours was tidier than his through there.
It was no problem for us. A good traction. Approaching a bit tricky bits. It was
you got a good exit from here. You and Jenson are equal quickest with the Ferraris through this speed trap, so we obviously get good exit.
The car has got a good traction,
This is a quick corner.
It is a quick corner, and because the stadium section is all the corners, it's all the tight, so and also that corner was really, we have to look at the inside wheel locking.
And understeer through these two?
Understeer truly, yes, because it's natural camber over the circuit, but a little bit twitches. The car was a little bit twitchy, but I didn't lose too much time.
So as you mentioned on the video, this turn 2, which is where you lost time in pre-qualifying, and obviously you braked a bit early here, and that's where you lost most of your time really. From then on, it's a pretty tidy lap. You obviously got a little snap of oversteer just on the apex there in the slow speed, and quite a lot of understeer on the exit, which is something that I think will probably get a little bit worse in the race, so we'll have to look after that if we can. And here, normally you've had understeer through these last 2 corners, but you've got a little snap of oversteer, I think, just as you come on the power.
Yeah, trying to get on good grip over there. Obviously, it happened to the turn 2. In the first corner, I had a big moment, and really for this run, we couldn't have any risk because we lost all the session this morning. So we wanted a nice and clear run. So maybe we lost a bit of time over here. The car was quite stable through the run. Obviously, last stadium section, you have to feel the cars a little bit.
I mean, you can see we're getting more understeer towards the end of the lap, so presumably a little bit of graining on the tyres or whatever. But no, I think generally speaking, from what we're looking at there, it is certainly a very raceable car. So I think we can have a strong race.
It is very positive. Even it's a little minimum understeer, we had a good traction today. So that was giving us quite big confidence.
Jenson, you've got a slightly different task ahead of you today than you had, say, at Silverstone, where you were starting 3rd on the grid. Today you're 13th. What's the game plan?
Well, hopefully we've got the right strategy, and I think we have from where we're starting. And we've got to overtake. That's the main thing. You know, we're running, I think, less wing than most people are, so that we are able to overtake, and have to wait and see. But the first lap we've got to get past a few cars, and then we're fighting with people like Pitsonia and maybe Taku, so it gets a little bit more difficult then.
Do you have to have a slightly more flexible approach to your strategy, just because you've got more people to take into consideration?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the people that I'm around, hopefully we're going to be quite a bit quicker then. So we've got to think about, you know, when I'm going to make my pit stop. It's not clear cut like it normally is. We need to think where I'm going to drop into. So I might stop 2 laps earlier than expected, or 2 laps. Well, I can't stop 2 laps later, but 2 laps earlier than expected. Or we might put more or less fuel in for the next stop, just to get me out in front of someone else, or drop me in behind someone else. So there's so much to take into account, and the guys, the strategy guys and the engineers have got a lot to think about.
Well, indeed, they do have a lot to think about. And Jensen talked about his wing, so let's take a look at it, shall we, on this BAR. If you have a look, you can't exactly see the angle, but let me tell you, trust me, it is less than most other cars there. Indeed, Jensen's top speed was 329 kilometres an hour. That's the quickest out of anyone except for Michael Schumacher, so he's obviously planning on doing some overtaking this afternoon. So let's look at the first 2 targets for Jensen. Off the grid, it's got to be the 2 Jaguars of Webber and Klein. But the crucial thing is when he gets to his teammate Takuma Sato, who's sitting just over there, by the way. BAR have an internal policy, and that's if their drivers get behind each other, they've got 3 laps to find out whoever's quickest, and then if the guy in front is slowest, he has to let his teammate by.
Now we're going to find out a bit more about Michael Schumacher's qualifying lap, that record-breaking qualifying lap. This from Alan McNish.
Look at the turn-in speed Michael Schumacher has there. Just incredible into the stadium section, and he's looking good for a sub 1 minute 14.
In qualifying, Michael Schumacher's superiority was evident in the final sector of the track. His improving performance throughout his pole lap had a lot to do with his tyre choice.
The tyre really held up fantastically until the last corner, and if you see my last sector, that was quite impressive.
The Michelin runners were very quick in the first 2 sectors, but were not quite able to maintain that advantage until the end. However, once up to temperature, Schumacher's Bridgestone seemed to give him the edge.
From our side, we had no warming up problems. It means that the tyres were ready for the very first sector time, and then the performance was stable. Maybe Michael has a slightly different problem to solve for qualifying.
Montoya appeared to struggle with some understeer in the last few corners, and that was the difference between first and second.
I think that's come from the grain on the front. They're giving understeer to the Montoya or Michelin cars, whereas the Bridgestone cars didn't suffer with that type of graining understeer. Therefore, Michael could keep the lap time even in sector 3.
We are looking in qualifying for some understeering, simply because in the race usually we end up real limited. So it's much better to qualify with a slight understeering.
All tyres are black and round, but that's where the similarity ends. The construction of the tyre, the softness of the rubber, the compound, as well as the profile, the flatness of it and the dimensions are different between different tyre manufacturers. But only in the race can we find out which one is the best compromise.
20 minutes to go to the start of the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Bit of early warm-up for some of the cars. Little 15-minute period. Felipe Massa going out there in the Sauber. He's starting 16th on the grid. They're quite happy, though. They always tend to overfill a little bit in qualifying and run heavy, do those Saubers. Right, let's talk about BMW Williams. Ralf Schumacher out injured. They tried Marc Genet, the Spaniard, for a couple of races. Now they are trying the Brazilian Antonio Pitsonia. Here he is with Ted Kravitz.
Well, Antonio, qualifying didn't quite work out your way, did it? But how are we looking for the race?
Well, I think we're looking good. Obviously, starting from 10th on the grid is not ideal for the first corner and first lap. But I think we have a good race car, so it should be good for the race. I just need to have a good start and keep out of troubles in the first lap and hopefully overtake a few people out there.
So stay calm. Has that been the advice from the team?
Yeah, stay calm, and it's a difficult one because because I have to stay calm and be aggressive at the same time because I need to pass people. So we'll see what we can do.
Mark Blundell, I talked to Sir Frank Williams about Pitsonia last night. He said he thought he might have had a bit of stage fright in qualifying. He's got to get rid of that today, isn't he?
Definitely, but let's not forget the guy was in at Jaguar only a year or so ago. He has the experience, and it's the same thing. When the opportunity comes and you've got this kind of pressure, you have to deliver. He may be able to rectify that situation by having a strong race, but if there's stage fright in there, it's not going to happen.
Just saw David Coulthard. He starts on the second row. Ralf Schumacher, it says he wants to come back for Hungary, and that seems to be almost a likely prospect. That could well happen in 3 weeks' time, that Ralf comes back, and Williams would welcome him back with open arms, wouldn't they?
I think Williams would like him back there because he's got continuity with the team, obviously. But, let's wait and see. The medical people are saying it's possible. I don't know what Ralf thinks about it. We'll have to wait and see whether he feels up to it.
I think he wants it, of course. Ralf Schumacher injured in that nasty accident at Indianapolis. That is the grid. Let's go into the thick of things. And Martin.
Hello, welcome to the grid. Let's just take a look down to the first corner. Looks like a cul-de-sac, doesn't it? Incredible. It's a long run down there. And look at all the red T-shirts and caps. They're expecting something this afternoon. I wonder if they know the following statistics. The pole position always seems to win here. 12 of the last 16 Grand Prix, in fact, have been won from this pole position. Michael Schumacher's won 12 of the last 14 Grand Prix, his 61st pole. Last time he broke down was at this race 3 years ago. Pretty ominous, isn't it, for another Michael Schumacher victory today. But there are 6 different cars of different teams in the top 10 on the grid. First up is Juan Pablo Montoya. He's surely got a... Let's see... Juan Pablo, one question. Can you beat Michael down in the first corner? In the F3000 race yesterday, this side got away better, and he's got to go over that big white stripe. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't mind, put it that way. It's going to be hard. Our stars this year have been okay, not brilliant. Their stars are quite good, so we'll give it the best shot we can.
And you normally got a bit more grip on cool tyres with the Michelin, yeah?
Yeah, we'll see. If we have a chance to pass him probably in the first lap.
If you don't pass him on the first lap, do you think it's over?
Well, it depends how quick they are.
That's my one question over, thanks. Oh well, got away with that one. Montoya, he's off to McLaren next year. There's a lot of change going on the grid. Kimi Raikkonen then with a good third position. He's pretty much, of course, he's staying with McLaren. Something big going on out there somewhere. Crazy. What is that? Michael Schumacher coming back onto the grid or something? Absolutely. Michael Schumacher just walking to go to the toilet. That's the kind of support he's got here today. David Coulthard not on the grid. A good run for him. 4th place. Unsure of where he's going to be next year. That's kind of my problem at the moment, to sort that out for him. Alonso, he's staying with Renault, but he's going to have a new teammate. Just see if we can get one question, Fernando. Okay, it's looking quite good for you. You must be happy. 3rd row of the grid.
Yeah. Yesterday was a good qualifying for us, and I think starting 5th, I have a good opportunity to score big points.
Are you thinking of a win, or a podium would be good for you today? Win doesn't seem possible.
No, win. I think we have to see. We have to be realistic, and will be nearly impossible. But podium finish is, I think, is the maximum we can achieve today.
Good luck. We are moving on. Jarno Trulli put out a press release, unusual for a driver to put out a press release, saying he's leaving the team. He's actually quite happy about it. Basically, I've never seen a release that says, I'm happy to have been fired. And I bet when he was standing on the podium in Monaco after a brilliant drive, he was not expecting to have to announce that a few races later. I don't know if Rubens Barrichello is around. He's 8th on the grid. I think he's the first car on the grid that's 2-stopping today. Rubens, you're 2-stopping today, aren't you? That's why you're so far down the grid.
Remember Gary? He used to engineer us.
Yeah, I do remember Gary well. And so, are you going to swerve that question, or are you going to tell us?
No, I'm on the papers, 2-stop doesn't look good. So I have to see. I have more fuel than Michael, that's for sure. But we have to see how things goes.
Okay, good luck. Now, Rubens could have gone to Williams for next year. Decided to stay at Ferrari in Michael's shadow. I think he should have moved personally. But he's hoping and praying that Michael retires, and we haven't seen any sign of that yet. Sato, he's going to be fun watching him come through the pack today. We know the crazy moves he makes. He is not yet signed up for next year. Who have we got here? Olivier Panis, he could be on the bubble at Toyota. Ralf Schumacher's gone to this team from Williams, and there's talk that Jarno Trulli is also having discussions with them at this time. Pizzonia, we've already talked to. Mark Webber, I'm pretty sure, is going to be announced at Williams in the coming week. Bernard, you okay?
Yeah, fine, and you?
Yeah. How are they going to stop Michael when he's there? Are you happy if he does?
Well, I mean, if it's such a big attraction to the Germans, why isn't the place full?
Is it not full?
It's not full because he's winning everything. We ought to take him out, give him a pension or something.
No, don't sit on the fence. Say what you think. Well, when do you think he's going to go?
Pension him off at the end of the year.
Give him a bit of yours. Do you think he's off?
I haven't got enough for him, sorry. We do it together.
All right, speak to you. I just want to try and find you. So Mark Webber going to Williams. Clean, we don't know. And finally, Jenson Button, who is over here, I can see, is fixed at BAR for another couple of years, just doing a bit of work on his hair. I've got a minute and a half, Jenson. Have you?
Go for it.
Right, we've talked all about your low wing settings, and I mean, I think we'll find out as this race unfolds just what a brilliant job you did in qualifying. But now I'm down here with you. It's a long way back, mate.
It is, isn't it? You don't realise until you're back here, but I'm not too worried. I think we've got a good car. Probably the best car I've had in the last few races, so I'm excited.
Now, have you got to take some risks on the first lap?
Well, a few, but I mean, it's a long race, and I think our car is going to be very consistent, so there's no use going too crazy.
Now, you had some stuff pulled off your car that you came to the race with that should have given you a performance advantage. How do you, as a driver, just keep your head out of all of that stuff?
Well, obviously, I was a bit annoyed on Friday evening, but you just got to get on with it, and we knew we had a good car here anyway, and even without it, we're running very well, so it's very positive.
In your mind's eye, have you got a podium chance today, or are you just going for points?
I don't know what I'm gonna get here, but I've just got to give it everything and see what we get at the end.
Right, we're looking forward to seeing you in action. Good luck. Jim, it's time for you.
Thanks very much indeed, Martin. Pension him off? I don't think so quite yet. Gary, by the way, that was Gary Anderson now joining the media after doing a lot of jobs up and down the paddock, hasn't he, Mark Blundell? Are you seeing anything beyond a Michael Schumacher victory, pensioner or not?
I'm afraid not at this point in time, because the durability is there with the Bridgestone tyres. Ferrari, as we heard, his car hasn't broken down for so long. And he's outstanding in terms of race pace, and that's the big thing. They've all caught up on the grid, but when it comes to this Sunday afternoon, his race pace is extraordinary.
Barrichello could be two stopping, but Montoya is saying he wants to do something on the very first lap. He wants to get to him early.
He has to get to him early, Jim. He has to be at nudge him a little bit aside there when they go into turn one and force a bit of a gap and make sure he gets in the lead. And if he does, he can maybe take the advantage of those Michelin tyres, will operate a lot earlier, a lot quicker, and then the Bridgestone takes a little bit longer to get up to pace. But, it's going to be a tough one off the first row there.
Absolutely. We really get bombarded with Michael Schumacher statistics. He is going flat out for win number 11 in F1 2004. The 6th win on the bounce. His 81st, but only the 3rd at his home race. And the added incentive, just to remind you, of possibly clinching the Constructors' crown. We have had big accidents at the first corner. Montoya looking to get to Schumacher early, relishing the wheel-to-wheel battles. He monstered Schumacher on home turf last year. The vastly improved McLarens, we've just seen the Renaults. They are always quickest off the grid. And how about Jenson Button preparing a charge from midfield? The German Grand Prix comes next. You are back with the ITV F1 team at Hockenheim in Western Germany. We're assured there's 130,000 people here and we are baking. It is 45 degrees and rising on the track. Settle back. Enjoy your last Grand Prix before the 3-week summer break in the company of Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Thank you very much indeed, Jim. Mexican wave to welcome you to a very sunny Hockenheim circuit. The sporting spotlight today then falling on two great champions, Lance Armstrong and Michael Schumacher. Armstrong riding down the Champs-Élysées later this afternoon. You can watch it on ITV2 to collect a record 6th Tour de France victory, while Michael Schumacher and Ferrari can clinch an unprecedented 6th consecutive Constructors' World Championship this afternoon if they get 13 points more than the Renault team. There are a lot of parallels, I think, between Armstrong and Schumacher. Both dominate their sport. Both are determined not just to beat the opposition, but to destroy them. neither man gives gifts, and both have invested an awful lot personally into building a team around them which, allied to their own talent and combativity and competitiveness, makes for an unbeatable package. Schumacher literally destroyed the opposition yesterday. This man here, Kimi Räikkönen, unable to match the time of the 6 times world champion. But Schumacher does have a few traps to watch out for. For the 9th time in their Formula One careers, Juan Pablo Montoya and Michael Schumacher are alongside each other on the front row of the grid. And, well, they have quite a history of dust-ups, don't they? Remember the Monaco tunnel, that mugging? The only time Schumacher this season has not won a Grand Prix. Schumacher, funnily enough, yesterday, after qualifying, said he'd rather have this man on the front row alongside him, Juan Montoya, than Kimi Räikkönen, because he regards Räikkönen as the more dangerous competitor. And certainly over a race distance at the moment, you'd have to agree with him. Räikkönen then and McLaren teammate David Coulthard lining up on a season best 3rd and 4th on the grid. Once again, McLaren looking strong, as they did at Silverstone 2 weeks ago. This really is a genuine rebirth for the McLaren team. They have quite a lot of catching up to do in the World Championship. They're 9 points behind Williams, who are in 4th place. But Williams are vulnerable at the moment. Ralf Schumacher still on the sidelines, and that means Montoya is the only man scoring any points, really. His teammate this weekend, filling in for Ralf Schumacher, is Antonio Pizzonia, who underperformed yesterday in qualifying. You can see there he's 10th on the grid. Williams then just 6 points in the last 5 Grand Prix. Have to turn that around here this afternoon. And finally, a couple of things to look out for. Jenson Button, after a few races of stagnation, the BAR team have turned around their form. A lot of improvements on the car. Button was stunningly fast yesterday in qualifying, but had to take that penalty, as you can see, dropping him down to 13th on the grid. And also, watch out for Rubens Barrichello. Martin had a quick word with him on the grid, down in 7th place, believed to have about 7 laps more fuel in the car than his team leader Michael Schumacher. Made a small mistake in qualifying, but again, Rubens Barrichello fighting Montoya and the 2 McLarens, Martin, for a podium place today.
I think, yes, you're absolutely right. Unless they can get ahead of Michael in the first lap or two and interrupt his pace, spoil his rhythm, I think he's just going to run and hide. But we've been surprised before. Michael knows he's got some competitors around him, and there's no doubt about it, James, for me. Williams, McLaren are really improving their game. They've got a much better package here, better even than just 2 weeks ago at the British Grand Prix, and we know that Renault and BAR have been strong pretty much through the season. So the competition is getting ever closer. Michael is beginning to have to work harder, but wasn't he supreme in yesterday's qualifying lap? People talking about it in the paddock again this morning, you know, sitting talking with Frank Williams, and he was waxing lyrical about it. Everybody just appreciated that Michael stood up in the seat and took something out of the car that wasn't necessarily there, and humbled the rest of the field.
Undoubtedly the lap of the season yesterday in qualifying. He found 6/10 in the final sector over teammate Rubens Barrichello. Absolutely staggering. No one else could get within 0.3 of a second of him. It wasn't clear how he did it, but clearly protecting the tyres over the early part of the lap. Just a mixture of aggression and intelligence, preparation and savvy that are the hallmarks of Schumacher's extraordinary career. Nice aerial view then of the 20 cars on the grid that will be contesting the 67 laps of this afternoon's Grand Prix here at Hockenheim. 190 miles in total. This track, for those of you who haven't been with us for a few years, has been heavily modified from the old Hockenheim circuit, where they used to turn out of turn 1 here and just basically go straight for miles on end through forests. It used to be the citadel of speed, as it was called. Now it's a slower circuit, one of the right about the middle in terms of average speed for the World Championship, but nevertheless one on which you can overtake, and that's something that both Barrichello and Jenson Button will be relying on this afternoon.
Amazing noise and energy these things give out, Jane. I mean, I'm watching them for 20 years now. I've been watching for a lot longer, but attending Grand Prix for 2 decades, and still it amazes me how fast and noisy these things are. If you've never made it to a Grand Prix circuit to see these things in action, you must do so if you're remotely interested in this sport. As they pulled away, Jane, you're broadcasting, half a metre beside me, and into my ears on a set of cans, I could barely hear you. Such is the noise of that lot, and just incredible.
I'm rarely accused of being too quiet, Martin. There you can see the constructor situation. Jaguar languishing a long way back there, and That's another trigger, as Martin was saying on the grid. Mark Webber, by the end of this month, and this is the last race, look at that Kimi and David board in the Mercedes stand there. By the end of this month, if Jaguar are not sixth in the Constructors' Championship, Mark Webber is free to leave. And that's a lot of work that they've got to do to get to sixth place at the moment is the Sauber team with 18 points. And the Jaguar way back with 4. So it's going to be tough for them to do anything about that. A lot of movement in the paddock this weekend on the driver front. Jarno Trulli announcing this morning that he's leaving Renault. Everyone expects him to go to Toyota. Obviously, Giancarlo Fisichella likely to replace him. They expect the announcement of that on Wednesday. And the Italian driver is really the centre of attention in the driver market at the moment.
Yes, the last gem I heard before going to the grid was that Trulli also may be talking to BAR. So we'll keep an eye on that one, but it's nothing more than a rumour that was thrown at me as I'm walking through the paddock.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the Grand Prix if we have time, but certainly the offer from Toyota that I've heard of, the money is almost the same as what they're paying Ralf Schumacher. I think they panicked a little when they saw Ralf Schumacher's accident and called in Trulli with a big money offer, so who knows.
Well, importantly, Michael Schumacher can control and has controlled the pace of this warm-up lap, and still the others are hanging back as much as they can get away with, but certainly we want to keep much more pace. He is the man. You are the pace car when you're on pole position, effectively.
Norbert Haug from Mercedes-Benz, looking for a good result here this afternoon. A lot of expectation. Charlie Whiting then, the race director, the man with the job of putting the 5 lights on. It's a random sequence. The computer decides when they'll go out, and when they do, we'll be racing. 67 laps of Hockenheim. Begin.
Toyota waving his arm, a driver waving his arm. It'll be abandoned. The start then. Olivier Panis has stalled on the grid. There'll be a quick restart.
They do not begin. So we'll have to have a restart procedure. And you can see the McLaren guys get to Kimi Raikkonen first, but it wasn't him that caused the problem, Martin.
No, they'll desperately now try to cool these cars down because they've boiled up and they're ready to go in the race. That's the peak, normally the peak water temperature and oil temperature you see in your Formula 1 car. There you can see the red gloved hand of Panis down the field there in the Panasonic Toyota. And what happens as soon as they switch them off, the heat continues to well up and it just starts to lose fluids, and they've got to go through this process one more time. Critical time for a Formula 1 car and for the engineers. So they're allowed now to cover the tyres up, just check the cars over, no refueling, and the race will be shortened by 1 lap. So a restart then in just a short while.
Welcome back to Hockenheim in Germany. We're yet to start the German Grand Prix. Olivier Panis has stalled his Toyota on the starting grid, so the new formation lap will begin in just over a minute's time, and Panis will drop to the back of the grid. And maybe that's Panis' father there. Can't quite believe his luck. Certainly, Martin, he's fighting for his career at the moment, and Olivier Panis, and he could really do without this chance, losing another chance to impress.
Yes, I think Ted has some news on that down in the pit lane.
Indeed, Martin, we do believe it wasn't entirely Olivier's fault, but when he went to the grid, he pressed the launch system. Of course, they have to make manual starts, but they still have a launch electronic system that governs everything, and he went through that and it failed, so probably not his fault. It has happened before this, of course, the last time at the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yes, they have to manually operate the clutch and get the car away unaided, but they do have a system that helps them find the clutch bite point and also controls the revs, a rev limiter as such. So these are the finest drivers in the world, and yes, they can drive without stalling. It is quite a complex situation. I know when I drove the Jaguar in Regent Street, I was amazed just how complex it was compared to how it used to be to get these cars to gently pull away. The man with the yellow flag, the marshal with the yellow flag, is in front of Panis because he will have to remain in position and follow the filter and start this race at the back of the grid. Other people around him pushing for their careers, though, are going to be jolly pleased to see it, because you've got Pitzonia desperately trying to impress Williams. Mark Webber sorted out, but also not a man who needs to impress anybody, but good news for Jenson Button. He's already gained a place on the first lap effectively.
This is the new Toyota, new car for this weekend. They tested some parts of it last weekend. Doesn't seem to be going very quickly now, does he? He's waiting for the tyre man to get out of the way, or has he got a genuine problem? Looks like he's got a genuine problem here.
He's going to need a restart there. Seems like the clutch is not clearing. Something like that. Could be a hydraulic pressure situation. But he coasted to a halt there, I think, to try to let the trolleys get out of the way. This is a replay of the first start, the aborted start. But Panis didn't appear to have any clutch to pick the car back up with.
Car being pushed off the grid, as you can see now on your screen. So the debut of the new 104B Toyota, designed largely by Mike Gascoigne. A lot of new aerodynamic work, a heavily upgraded engine. In fact, the only thing that's the same from the car, which has started the season up to this point, and this new car, is the rear wing. And obviously one or two reliability issues for the car there.
That's a Mercedes-Benz grandstand. That's why they're saying Kimi and David in there, of course. Very partisan grandstand, needless to say. I think tickets are sold to employees of the company, that kind of thing. But, Michael Schumacher then desperately trying to generate some heat. And this then is actually a replay of Panis's Toyota being pushed off the track, because I'm looking out of the window and it's now well clear. So Michael giving it everything, but to get some speed on, there's no energy going in there, there's no downforce to compress those tyres into the racetrack. Panis will be started up at the end of the pit lane. They've got it jacked up because it's clearly in gear. They're going to drop him off the jack and he'll just go from there, I'd imagine. A little bit of a tricky procedure, but it can be done.
So Panis was 9th on the grid. He drops back to the back of the grid. That's good news for Pitsonia on his Williams debut. One less car for him to pass. As you said, very good news indeed for the two Jaguars of Webber and Klein and Jenson Button in the BAR. He's now effectively 12th at the start of this Grand Prix, with not too many cars in front of him, one less anyway.
So Panis can start from the end of the pit lane. My understanding is he does not lose a lap effectively, because the race is not fully underway. What he does gain though is a lap's worth of fuel, James, or probably half a lap, because he hasn't had to do this formation procedure for a second time.
Zolt Baumgartner pulls into position. Now we're down to 66 laps of a German Grand Prix. Turn up the sound and enjoy. Go! What can Montoya do off the line? Well, the McLaren's going round the outside of him. Terrific start by the Renault. Just look at that absolutely extraordinary start around the outside for both of the Renaults. And Michael Schumacher pulls away. And look where is one Montoya. He's down in 5th or 6th place here. Kimi Räikkönen's up there, and Coulthard too has been passed by one of the Renaults. Can't see which one it is. I think Alonso is in front in 2nd place. 3rd is Räikkönen, 4th Trulli, 5th Coulthard, and 6th Barrichello then. Montoya down to 7th from 2nd on the grid.
And I think Jenson Button was having horrible problems on the outside of turn 2. Lock up then, and I think the Ferrari of Barrichello's lost its nose, lost its front wing, running into the back wheel of David Coulthard. Barrichello then already going to have to pit at the end of this lap. And I think that's Button. There's the Ferrari discarded front wing, and he'll struggle like crazy. The car will be hopeless turning into a corner. And I was watching out of the window. Montoya just firstly didn't react and then just didn't get away. Here we go then. Barrichello, too ambitious, locks his brakes up. Will that have damaged Coulthard's car? I suspect not.
Certainly pushed the wing out towards Montoya. You saw he lost an awful lot of time there. Slam dunk for the nose of Rubens Barrichello's car. He comes into the pit lane then. Michael Schumacher leads the Grand Prix from Alonso, Räikkönen, Trulli, Coulthard. Montoya is up to 6th, Webber 7th. Pitsonia is up into 8th place, Sato 9th, Klein 10th. As you can see, D'Amata 11th as well. And look at this. That's the
Alonso Räikkönen.
And Räikkönen attacking Alonso as Barrichello comes in.
Normally 12 to 14 seconds. There's 4 grub screws got to come off there. New nose goes on. They'll give him, will they give him a little, because he was fueled heavy anyway, Ruben, so all that advantage. And that, I believe, was Räikkönen passing Alonso for 2nd. Coulthard in close attendance too. Räikkönen, I'm pretty sure, up to 2nd.
Certainly he was looking very racy before, wasn't he? Having a look to see if he could find a way past Fernando Alonso. There is Michael Schumacher, and indeed, Kimi Räikkönen is up into 2nd place ahead of Alonso, with Trulli then just behind them. Coulthard also looking for a way past Trulli.
Webber up from 11th on the grid to P6 in the Jaguar, just ahead of the slow starting Montoya, who's got his teammate Pitsonia directly behind him.
Yeah, I think that incident also where Barrichello knocked the nose cone off benefited Webber, because it The nose actually went right in front of Montoya's car. He didn't want to drive over the top of it, so he had to effectively stop, and that allowed Webber to nick through in front of Montoya. So taking advantage very cleverly, the Jaguar of Mark Webber. Meanwhile, look how hard David Coulthard is pushing. A little bit of debris on the outside of turn 1 there that Coulthard ran through.
Some massive commitment going on there, and this is the move then. Raikkonen clearly had the faster car. Alonso has been on the defensive all through this lap. Up until this point, Raikkonen with an easy track position manoeuvre, good traction on the exit, and what are we going to be looking at here? It's Montoya and Webber. Button already back up to 11th then, past D'Amato, so a bad start, and but Jenson Button making his way through the field.
Certainly is. Obviously benefited from Olivier Panis not taking the start from his normal position, going to the back of the grid. Panis has fought his way past the two Minardis. He's in 18th place at the moment, but look at this for pace already. Michael Schumacher deep into the 1:14s, and at the equivalent time last year, Juan Montoya was running away with this race in the mid to high 1:15s. So Schumacher a second a lap faster than they were last year, and 3/4 of a second a lap faster than the pursuing pack of Raikkonen, Alonso, Trulli, Coulthard and Webber, the top 6 at the moment.
Dream ticket for Michael Schumacher. He does a 1:14.1. Raikkonen a 1:14.2. Stunningly quick there from Raikkonen, so at least he's keeping the world champion honest. The rest of them, best part of a second a lap slower. Once again, we appear to have two cars out front with significantly greater speed. Michael Schumacher will see in the distance in his mirrors just the one car of Raikkonen, really. The rest of them now falling into a line. Alonso, Trulli, Coulthard, Webber, Montoya. Montoya shaping up along the back of Webber with a lot more straight line speed, but Webber goes to the inside to block off his line. He can cut back inside and out-drag him, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Now he has track position for the next right-hander and a bit more grunt to go with it. He should surely take the position. Indeed he does.
Webber then looking at the car that he will be almost certainly driving in 2005, taking the place of Juan Montoya. And you could see it was fairly straightforward for Montoya. That speed advantage, just played it clever on the exit of the hairpin and managed to get away. Look at the heat haze. It's a very warm day here in Hockenheim. You can see us there, Montoya slow away and just swallowed up by the pack, wasn't he? How fast they get from 0 to 100 miles an hour.
Yes, as I was watching him, he just the rear wheels bounced round once, a little bit behind the game, and then he just bogged down and didn't get away at all. Amazingly, no front wings lost in that first corner, but of course Barrichello would lose his down at the hairpin in turn 3. And look, that system, Raikkonen tried to cover Alonso off, but that system of Renault transforms their racing year, doesn't it?
Really does. Montoya starting from the dirty side, and I'm sure you're thinking at home, well, he obviously didn't get much grip, but Coulthard and Trulli were both also starting from the dirty side, and they got away super well, didn't they? So Ted, what can you tell us?
And at Williams, James, the team suspect that the bite point that you were talking about with Panis, Martin, actually changed during the restart. What he thought was going to go in the first start, it changed for the second start. Of course, there was a lot of heat going on in that car, but more worryingly, I can tell you he's just been having to discuss gear problems with his engineers. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yes, Panis showing 17th at the moment, does not get penalised a lap for failing to do that green flag lap, and Barrichello down in 20th, recovering from the new nose and front wing.
And Jenson Button is up to 10th place now from 13th on the grid. He's up to 10th. He's passed the Jaguar of Christian Klein, and he is now just over a second behind his own teammate Takuma Sato, who's running in 9th. And we heard already in the programme what the VAR procedure is. If Button is clearly the faster man on the racetrack, and if Sato is holding him up, Sato has to let him through. At the moment, Button is 0.6 of a second a lap faster than Sato.
Yeah, and Michael Schumacher just smashed the lap record by 1.2 seconds. 1:13 is on your screen now, 1:13.783. Stunning pace. Only Raikkonen can remotely hang on to that.
Now at Silverstone, Martin, we saw a pattern, didn't we? In the early part of the stints, the Michelin tyres on the McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen were quite strong, but as the stint went on, the Bridgestone tyres on Schumacher's car kicked in, and the pace really came. You're seeing the same thing again here today, I think.
And they're really chipper about these latest Bridgestones they have on too in terms of durability. There's a very relaxed looking Ross Brawn. This is all going nicely to plan, just except maybe for the little Finn, who through most of last year was a real nuisance to them. This is the replay, classic manoeuvre. Webber covered off the corner nicely. Montoya accepted it and thought about the exit and cleanly through Great move, good driving, clean too.
Yeah, a two-part passing manoeuvre characteristic of this new Hockenheim circuit. The Hockenheim two-step as Montoya dives through, passing Webber. They're still going 6th and 7th. Montoya now a second and a half behind Coulthard, lapping at the same sort of pace as the McLaren in front of him. Coulthard, he's trying to find a way past Trulli still in the battle for 4th place. And, well, Alonso pretty much on his own now in 3rd, having been passed by Raikkonen. The Renault cannot live then with the pace of the McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen at the moment. And that is the status quo. The top 6 cars separated still by less than 10 seconds on lap 7. First round of pit stops, Martin, the smart money seemed to be on around about lap 10 or 11. This is lap 7 now.
More smart money needs to be on the 3rd car in this picture there of Takuma Sato getting out of the way of Jenson Button. PDQ. Button is way faster than him, his teammate, and making good speed through the pack. And Takuma's got to let him ease through. That's not team tactics, that's common sense.
Certainly is, and the car in front of them is the Williams of Antonio Pizzoni, deputising for Ralf Schumacher at this Grand Prix. Desperate to impress because he's on a race-by-race deal at the moment. They've tried a number of things, including trying to get Nick Heidfeld in this car, but Eddie Jordan wouldn't release him. So Pizzoni hopefully can hold on to this drive for a while, depending on when Ralf Schumacher can come back. He needs to resist the BARs here to impress Frank Williams.
Bit curious, isn't it? Pizzoni drove for Jaguar last year, didn't really get that close to Mark Webber during the races, so fascinating to see him in a Williams now, parked up behind Mark in the Jaguar. But Pizzoni looking for a strong race performance this afternoon. So far, so good, but you wouldn't say it's stunning pace, but it's not too bad. Ted.
Well, Martin, remember what we were saying earlier about the BAR policy on letting their 2 guys race. They've got 3 laps. Jenson Button has 3 laps to prove by the lap times that he's quicker than Sato. Now, the last time he was, this time Sato is slightly quicker than him, but I think they will. I think, as you say, they'll say, OK, Taku, it's Jenson's turn, and pull him over.
Yeah, I think the 3 laps were probably the 3 previous ones. The reason he's going the speed he's going at the moment is he's tucked up behind Takuma Sato. There's not really a great deal he can do. They're all tucked up behind the Jaguar of Mark Webber, who's lapping in the mid 1:15s at the moment. And the pack in front, the Schumacher, Raikkonen, Alonso, Trulli, Coulthard, if you like, front 5, they're all well over a second a lap faster. The BAR is fast enough to live with them. They have to get past Pizzoni and Webber.
Scruffy lap for Jenson Button, though. He's actually fallen back off this pack, surprisingly. I mean, he was catching Sato 6-7 tenths per lap from the ones that I saw anyway. And all of a sudden, he's nowhere near him. Look, but I agree with you. He was just getting into the dirty air zone. Maybe made an error somewhere around there. That is clean in the Jaguar and D'Amata for Toyota. At the moment, Panis still up in 16th. Barrichello now broken up to 19th, making his way back through the field.
Well, we said that Michael Schumacher was setting some record lap times, but I tell you what, Martin, Kimi Raikkonen's matching him. Schumacher is not dropping Raikkonen at the moment, just under a tenth of a second. Schumacher was faster. That's all on that last lap. Raikkonen has him pegged just over 3 seconds, the margin. He's not letting him get away.
A great performance from Kimi Raikkonen. Let's hope he stays out 3 or 4 laps longer than Michael. Then we've got a race on our hands. Williams then getting ready for one of their 2 runners who are both in the race. Montoya 6th and Pizzoni 8th.
On board the Toyota then of Cristiano D'Amata, running in 12th place at the moment. Christian Klein in front of us. This is the upgraded Toyota I talked about. And there you can see Fisichella just behind as Alonso dives into the pits from 4th place. So the first of the front runners to make a scheduled stop. This is lap 10 out of 66 at Hockenheim. And Alonso dives in. So too does Antonio Pizzoni. Great news then for Sato and Button.
I think it confirms that Pizzoni just did a bad lap in qualifying yesterday. His Quali 1 was brilliant. Quali 2 was lacklustre, and it's confirmed by how early he's had to pit. So that has released Trulli up into 3rd, then Coulthard moves into 4th, Montoya 5th at this stage. Michael Schumacher's lead, as you said, James, pegged at 3.3 by this little man, Kimi Raikkonen.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see when Schumacher makes his first stop this afternoon. Ross Brawn, the Ferrari technical director, admitting last night that they had gone very aggressive on the strategy of Michael Schumacher because they wanted him to start at the front. He felt he could get pole position, and look at this. There's Schumacher and I imagine Raikkonen are both going to pit on the same lap. In comes the world champion then from his lead, and Raikkonen goes through to start another lap. So Kimi Raikkonen leads the German Grand Prix It's been 25 races since he's won one. Can he put up the sort of challenge here this afternoon to take the lead from Michael Schumacher? Can he use his car now on low fuel to make up that 3-second deficit he had?
What's going on here? The fuel was out a long time before they released Michael Schumacher. Meanwhile, Kimi Raikkonen makes a new lap record, also in the 1:13.7s, marginally faster than Michael's best lap so far. So Raikkonen pushing hard. Coulthard has pitted. Normally that means with McLaren, Raikkonen will pit the next lap anyway. But I thought Michael Schumacher was a good 2 or 3 seconds waiting before they released him there, James.
And 3 seconds was the margin, wasn't it, between Raikkonen and Schumacher before that stop? How many laps then has Kimi Raikkonen got of a clear racetrack in which to use this McLaren, to use these Michelin tyres and the Mercedes engine to really make the difference? Fastest lap of the Grand Prix, he's pushing.
Button has been has now past Sato because Sato has pitted for fuel. So Jenson Button then up into what is 7th place at the moment. There is Raikkonen's crew. He will now dive in the pit lane to your right as hard as he can down there and get it slowed down before the white line that comes up now accelerates up to the speed, and there is his box. Williams mechanics, meaning he's got to really turn in at quite a severe angle. That's fair play. Everybody has that situation if you're pitting at the same time. And if they can get him away now, that's going to be very, very close. Where is Michael Schumacher? Schumacher goes past the start-finish line now. He'll stay ahead, but not by much.
Yeah, well, their stops were more or less the same amount of time. I wonder whether McLaren saw what you saw, that Schumacher had a slow stop, but he had put quite a short amount of fuel into the car, because basically that was all fuel Raikkonen's stop, wasn't it? I think he's carrying quite a bit more fuel in the second stint then than Michael Schumacher is.
Well, if we see Michael edging away now in terms of lap time, it should confirm that. But it would be interesting to hear if there was any specific drama down there at Ferrari, because the fueler was out and the lollipop was down another good 2 or 3 seconds.
Very interesting. Maybe there's a problem getting a wheel nut back on, maybe there's a cross thread or something like that. But as you say, Schumacher then committed to running this stint with possibly less fuel than Kimi Raikkonen. They're not very far apart on the racetrack, and what's going to happen? Schumacher really is being tested here, and you have to say, Martin, he loves it, doesn't he? He really loves the challenge he gets from Kimi Raikkonen. He said it himself. He's been pushing very, very hard all weekend, and I think it's been quite easy for Michael Schumacher for a lot of the Grand Prix this season. Here, it's not easy at all. That looked like one of the Jordans struggling with a front puncture.
Yeah, Button is flying. He must have made a mistake on that lap where he dropped back, because he's down in the very low 1:14. So good stage of the race for, and in fact Jenson Button now leads this Grand Prix, would you believe, because he's yet to pit. So they said they had good fuel on, and David Ritchie said to me, I think if we'd have fueled the same as Ferrari, we would have been on pole. And you have to say that looks like it was more than possible. A long run back to the pits then for the Jordan of Pantano, and he's just got to keep out of the way if he can.
Certainly has. Always a dicey moment, being a guy travelling very slowly with fast race cars. On board then with Juan Montoya, Jarno Trulli there on our left, and well, that was pretty easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got a lot more power and quite clearly a bit less downforce. Locked the front wheel, but he closed off the apex crucially, so Trulli could do nothing about it. Nice driving there from Montoya, intentionally slow on the apex and then bolts.
So Jenson Button leads the German Grand Prix on lap 13. Mark Webber, who was pitted, he was second, but he's just pitting now. So Michael Schumacher is in second place. Raikkonen, Klien has yet to pit in the Jaguar. Alonso, Coulthard, Montoya and Trulli. How much longer then can Jenson Button stay out? We heard Juan Montoya after qualifying yesterday saying he was genuinely surprised at Button's performance. And the more laps... Oh, massive rear wing failure for Kimi Raikkonen, and a huge off for the McLaren driver. That was very, very scary.
That's very unusual too, to see that. It looks like a pure failure of the main plane of the rear wing. Normally the rear wings, when they fail, go at the root of them. He'll be all right. There's a lot of tyres in there. There'll be double waved yellows. No sign of any safety car situation at the moment. And quite rightly, Raikkonen well unhappy with that situation. Nothing he could do about it. Just a passenger straight to the scene of the accident. He said, I'm fine, leave me alone. I just want to get out of here.
I wouldn't want to be the first person he ever came across, because he must have been very, very pumped up. He had a chance here this afternoon to really take it to Michael Schumacher. He was pushing so hard. Here it is again. Look at this. Wallop!
Oh, there'll be some grimaces back at the McLaren factory on that one, because it's not a piece that can get damaged in traffic-related incidents. That looked like a straight failure of the main plane. And oh, look at the speed he's going off there at. I mean, they're doing best part of 190 miles an hour as they head down to the first corner, and virtually or little or no retardation. Here's another angle of it, and boom, off it goes. And well, nobody is more surprised than you when you're driving the thing that happens. And look, the crowd with their arms in the air as the leader, Jenson Button, pits. The crowd delighted to see Raikkonen off the racetrack.
Where is he going to feed back in then? Takuma Sato, his teammate, is behind him now, I believe. Yes, he is, right at the top of your picture. So, and Mark Webber, he's got out in front of Webber as well. So a big gain there for Jenson Button. He's cleared both Webber and Sato by staying out that little bit longer, and Button is absolutely on it here at Hockenheim. Mark Webber looking to get past Fisichella in the Sauber.
Yeah, Fisichella as usual though on a long afternoon with a lot of fuel on board. Webber with track position should make that stick. This has worked out well for Jenson Button. Coulthard will be up to a net third place as well. The big concern there for McLaren is if that's a straightforward structural failure, where are they at with David Coulthard's car? Ted?
They are very worried about David Coulthard's car. Expected his next stop for them to have a very good look at it, but I'm stationed down in McLaren. They very kindly let me stay in their garage, and I've just had a look at the T-car rear wing, Martin, and it's all bonded. That section where it broke off, it's all bonded. It's carbon fibre bonding. There are no screws attaching it to the rear wing end plate, so it appears at the moment to be a failure in that bonding.
For the second year in a row then, Kimi Raikkonen's German Grand Prix ends up in that tyre barrier. If you remember, he collided last year with Ralf Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello at the start and finished up without any wheels on his car, more or less in exactly the same position, and the German fans didn't seem to mind that too much, did they? Certainly not the Schumacher element of them.
No, nobody wants to see that. That's not reasonable and fair. Big shot, and he was kind of always going to be okay. It was nearly wearing his front wing there at one point, but the wheel tethers doing a brilliant job, and still doing a brilliant job of keeping that errant front wheel in the right location.
And Raikkonen chucking a $40,000 steering wheel back into the cockpit in disgust. Lap 16, Schumacher leads, Alonso second, Coulthard third, Montoya fourth, and Button now up into fifth place and ready to challenge. Welcome back to Hockenheim. This is lap 18 of the 66th lap German Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is leading by 11 seconds from Fernando Alonso. There you can see David Coulthard right up behind the Renault driver. There is Juan Montoya in the Williams, so you can see 2, 3, 4, and Jenson Button, P5, going super well. Just putting a lap on the Jordan there. Button has made a massive gain by staying out a few laps longer on his first stint. I'm delighted to welcome Jeff Willis, the technical director of the BAR team. Jeff, that worked out really well for you, didn't it?
Yes, that was certainly our plan. Given our penalty for the engine change, we knew we had to go longer and get the balance of qualifying in P13, P14 and staying out for those extra laps.
So you went 5 laps further than the Ferrari, Jeff. So I think you... David Richards said to me, we would have been on pole. You have to believe that. What is 5 laps worth of time around here in qualifying?
5 laps is about half a second.
Wow. So you've got some pace then. It's a question what you can do about Montoya and Coulthard.
Yes, we've also got good top-line speed. We set the car up very much for the race, so we're hoping that Jenson can make the most of it.
What were you telling Takuma Sato? Was there any understanding that he was going to get out? Because he seemed to just hold Jenson up for a while, although Jenson made an error.
Well, we were asking Takuma to push very hard to see whether he could make any ground on Pizzoni in front of him. Clearly we can't. We've got to be careful with team orders, but both of them are clever enough to know what to do.
Just watching Pizzoni running wide. You've obviously jumped in through the pit stops, but Jenson just a moment ago was the fastest car on the racetrack. You've obviously got a very quick car here, Jeff. Do you think you can beat the 3 cars in front of you and get Jenson up to second place today?
I think there's a possibility. It's certainly, we've known all weekend it's been a very quick car, and Jenson's making the most of it at the moment. So no problems, we keep trying.
Well, he's certainly got his race face on as Jenson Button. Thanks very much, Jeff Willis. We'll hopefully speak to you again a little bit later on in the Grand Prix and tune into your tactics. It's always lovely to hear from people who are at the coalface, if you like, of a Grand Prix, and Jenson Button very much the man to watch out for. The other man who had some misfortune was Rubens Barrichello. Lost his front wing at the start. He is up into 13th place, not finding it quite as easy to carve through the traffic as Button is. And also Olivier Panis, who dropped down from the grid, from 9th on the grid. He had to go to the very back, having made a stalled at the start. He is up into 15th at the moment. More overtaking though down on the racetrack. That is Jaguar passing Sauber. That'll be the battle going on between Webber, Fisichella, Sato and Massa.
I think it was actually Webber trying to hold off Fisichella, to be honest. Sato in very close attendance there. They're all tucked up behind Jarno Trulli, who has really fallen away from the leading pace. So Trulli, I would imagine, carrying some kind of balance problem or technical issue. He's on the softer Michelins than all of the other Michelin runners. So has he blistered his tyres? Quite possibly, because he's really not fast at the moment, and there's an enormous fight going on behind him. But luckily, Button, Montoya and Coulthard have got away from that. They're 7 seconds in front of this gaggle here, but Michael Schumacher now 14 seconds in the lead from Fernando Alonso.
Well, if you remember, blistering tyres was very much a story last year. The Renault of Fernando Alonso struggled. Michael Schumacher had a tyre failure towards the end of the Grand Prix. This circuit has a lot of slow and medium speed corners and a lot of accelerations and heavy brakings, and on a hot day like today, you really don't want to be on too soft a tyre, the tyre technicians tell us, and maybe that's why Trulli is struggling. Here's Webber, you see, resisting the advances of trying to battle Trulli, in fact. Yeah. That's an attempted pass for position, Webber.
Yeah, so Trulli hanging on to that 6th place at the moment then. And let's look at the gap. 3rd, 4th and 5th. In fact, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th covered by about 3.5 seconds. Good fight going on there. And then this is 6, 7, 8 and 9, and Massa just in the background. Ted has some news from Williams.
Yeah, you're talking about the tyres there. I managed to sneak a look at Montoya's tyres when they came off in the first stop, and they were quite badly blistered, but what they did was put on a set of scrub tyres. And believe it or not, some tyres that have actually done a few laps actually help cool down the tyre temperature.
Ted, that we're just watching, thank you for that, we're just watching Montoya make an error and letting Jenson Button through into 4th place. Montoya running wide at the Mercedes corner, and Button through. This is working out beautifully for Jenson Button, and that was clean.
Webber again, it's Webber still trying to get past Jarno Trulli. Same place and same result effectively. Trulli just playing it cagey. Webber was unable to resist Montoya in a similar move, but Trulli twice now has resisted Mark Webber. But what a mistake from Juan Montoya, under pressure in 4th place from Jenson Button, and Button absolutely flying. Sato, though, has now got past Webber. Obviously, the Jaguar driver losing a bit of momentum there when he failed to get past Trulli, and that's allowed Sato through. So lots of overtaking here this afternoon.
Fisichella finally pits from 10th. It's not working out for them as it did in Silverstone. Bridgestone with a clear advantage in Silverstone. Fisichella driving from the back of the grid up to P6. But Mark Webber is 1 minute on the attack, and the next minute he's losing a place or two. And this is the Banzai Sato move, is it, coming from is Webber outbraking himself, basically. Sato well positioned to punish him for that.
Yeah, Webber didn't seem to go very defensive into that corner, did he? He could have gone a lot tighter to the apex there.
He didn't need to be defensive, really. He just simply outbraked himself.
So 2 terrific scraps in the field at the moment. Alonso, Coulthard, Button, and Montoya being dropped by them, and this one as well, you can see between Trulli, Sato and Webber. Sato really is one of the most exciting drivers in Formula 1 at the moment. He's had a bit of a slow start to this weekend. He had a shunt yesterday morning, which the team were a bit long-faced about, and he lost a lot of running time. Didn't have a terrific qualifying, but here in the race he's having a real go. And is he going to get past Jarno Trulli round the outside? No. Will he get him round the inside? No. Trulli sits on the apex, doesn't let him pick up the throttle, and well, that's a sort of a karting move, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and he did a lot of karting, did Mr. Trulli, but he's really struggling with that Renault at the moment. They're doing 117s back there, and they'll be desperate to get past him. So we think Trulli then with blistered rear tyres, you're on board with Takuma Sato, but very little space to overtake in the final complex unless the driver makes a mistake on the way into the stadium. Really nowhere to go. You've got to line yourself up ready for turn 2 is your first chance, turn 3 your big chance.
Put us in the cockpit then of Trulli's car. You've got blistered rear tyres. What does it mean? How does the car feel? What can't you do?
It just slides all over the place. There's a lot of vibration coming in from the back. You can't put the power down, you can't turn it. You're constantly unsure. It feels like you're sitting in a bathtub that's on 3 caster wheels that just let it go anywhere you want. It really is a horrible and pathetic feeling. Massa pits for the first time then as does Rubens Barrichello, who'd made his way up to P12 after that front wing change at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, a little bit out of sequence then, Rubens Barrichello. We expected him to come in around 7 laps later than Michael Schumacher, but obviously with losing his wing at the start, Ross Brawn deciding to put a bit of fuel into that car, put him out of sequence, and this is lap 24 for Rubens Barrichello, just taking some fuel on board. Still in the thick of the battle then. Trulli, Sato, Webber, Pitsonia just being dropped off the back of them in 9th place in the Williams. Pitsonia lapping in the mid-116s, teammate Montoya mid-115s, so he's not really doing anything Marc Gené couldn't do, is he, Antonio Pitsonia?
Not this afternoon. Coulthard and Button now less than a second apart, 3rd and 4th. They're dropping quite quickly. Montoya at the moment, as he recovers from that off, has Montoya blistered his rear tyres too? But Jenson Button then, he said on the grid, didn't he, podium, no chance. But he's staring one right in the face at the moment. He's looking at the back of Coulthard. 2 very good mates about to be the biggest of enemies on the racetrack.
And this is costing Takuma Sato big time. 1.5 seconds a lap. He's going slower than Jenson Button because he's tucked up behind this Renault of Jarno Trulli, who is struggling for grip. And, well, with every lap that passes that Sato is unable to get through, he is losing ground. Mark Webber staying with them as well. Doesn't quite have the speed in that Jag to pass Sato, but it's certainly not for the want of trying to get nicely tucked up there. So a lot to race for here still at Hockenheim, isn't there? Michael Schumacher has a 15-second margin over Fernando Alonso and is seemingly pretty comfortable at the front, as we've become used to seeing him this season. But Alonso, Coulthard, Button, any one of those men could finish up on the podium. And if Sato can get past Trulli, he might join them as well. Montoya, he might find a little bit more speed. He's in 5th place at the moment. So really the 2 remaining podium places behind Michael Schumacher are absolutely up for grabs here this afternoon.
So Webber then just about hanging on to Sato at the moment. Truly backing Sato up quite a lot. I think he's got a much faster car underneath him, as you say. With the fight we really want to look at, I think, is between Coulthard and Button. That's the one that's shaping up. Montoya continues to slip back. Sato then, see, when you start squabbling like this, you lose so much time fighting and watching each other. But now, surely Sato's got a brilliant chance to slipstream, but he's got to get right as soon as he can. Even if he's got to do that, that's perfect. Even take a bit of extra space that's not there really, and that was spot on. That was all he could do. He could not, don't outbrake yourself, now you've got there. And Webber's coming in there too. Very opportunist, great move from Mark Webber, but Sato played that perfectly.
A double move on Jarno Trulli. Mark Webber spotting his opportunity. Fantastic moment there for him. But Takuma Sato read it very, very well. He got himself into the ideal position. He got an excellent drive out of turn 2. And there you go. Long faces on the Renault timing stand. Flavio Briatore, some very harsh words exchanged between Trulli and Briatore recently. Trulli saying, I don't talk to Briatore anymore, there's nothing to talk about. And then this morning announcing that he's leaving the Renault team. The man who won the Monaco Grand Prix, the only man this year to win apart from Michael Schumacher. And, well, how quickly a beautiful relationship can turn sour. Williams ready for one of their drivers.
Yeah, it's quite brave stuff when you stick it around the outside. That Trulli thought he'd covered the line, but Sato did the only thing possible, and that was to make sure he went on the right-hand side. Otherwise, Trulli was just going to cover him off and block him out into the hairpin. So good stuff. I'd like to see that one again. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that. And in fact, it's exactly what we're going to get now. Look, Trulli thinks he's not left him enough space. Sato says, there's just enough for me, as he runs the white line. And Flav, come on Flav, what's he supposed to do? The guy drove past him in a straight line. Give him a bit more power.
Webber then diving through as well, just putting his car in there, running it up there to say, please don't close in on me. And now it's the turn of Antonio Pitsonia. It's a bit like the generation game, this, isn't it? He's seen the experts do it, now it's your turn.
Yeah, Pitsonia, how's he lapping? 18.0s on his last lap. The lead pace is 14.7 at the moment. Michael Schumacher's lead stabilising now around 15 seconds. Alonso just beginning to drop Coulthard by tenths. Ted is down there.
It's a very, very early stop for Juan Montoya going on. I'm just having a look at the rear tyres. Yes, they are blistered, especially the left rear. You've got to hope that they've done something with the pressures. They've put a new set on this time. Let's hope it only just gets better. Oh, and there's a BAR is in as well.
Yep, Takuma Sato Sato diving into the pits there. There he is, Alex Core, we saw, one of the fan club members. He's working the right rear wheel. Well, he's right in the thick of the drama today, isn't he? One of his drivers is running in 4th place with a great shot at a podium finish. And Takuma Sato, well, he's going to be thick into the points as well, having a terrific afternoon as well. So a wonderful opportunity for that fan who's a member, just for this race, of the BAR pit crew, right in the thick of the action.
This will be for Michael Schumacher, and he pits now from the lead. He was 15.3 ahead, so a comfortable position for him. But all they can do on the blistering is, as Ted said, maybe reduce the pressure slightly, but it's got to be more. Montoya's got to protect them for the first few laps while they're fresh. That's when you put the blisters in, with new rubber that gives you extra heat. Alonso leads the Grand Prix. Coulthard pits too. Coulthard in, so at the end of lap 28.
As things stand then, Ferrari not in a position to clinch that unprecedented 6th consecutive Constructors' Championship, stretching back to 1999, because Rubens Barrichello down in 14th place. As you can see, Pitsonia then coming in behind Jarno Trulli. A pit stop race between Williams and Renault, and they're going to do a front nose change on Trulli's car as well.
Yeah, that's unusual. They've got it on a jack. Maybe he's damaged the under tray at the front, the tongue that comes out of the front. This is most unusual to see. Normally they go up on a jack, so something, a little bit of drift under there that would, and if that does become broken under there, it dramatically affects the aerodynamics of the car. Ted.
I tell you what it was a piece of Kimi Raikkonen's rear wing. They pulled it out and you could see very clearly it said West on it, and it was nice and silver, so a piece of Raikkonen's wing had become lodged in Trulli's car. Let me quickly tell you about what's happened at David Coulthard's stop. The top engineer, Pat Fry at McLaren, he came off and gave DC's wing a good check.
Okay, so that explains, I think, why Trulli was struggling so much, because that would disturb the airflow under the car quite dramatically. And that's Flav being a bit unkind then, thumping the desk and blaming his driver for being overtaken. Alonso, though, was a couple of seconds ahead of Jenson Button when he stopped. So Button takes the lead for the 2nd time this afternoon in amongst the pit stops.
So a little fuel prediction there. 19 laps worth of fuel going into the Renault. We haven't seen that graphic for any of the other runners, so it's difficult to make too many comparisons. Mark Webber has pitted in the Jaguar from 5th place, so really is closely fought this afternoon for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. There's not an awful lot to choose between them.
Klein was 6th as well, so he's not having a bad afternoon, yet to stop though, but looking not too bad for Jaguar for another haul of points.
Certainly, it's very important actually for Christian Klein. He gets a point fairly soon, yet to get off the mark. Jaguar have only got 4 points this year, which is a lot less than they had last season, and they really need a second driver who can score some points. And Klein's been quite promising in the last few Grand Prix. He's obviously looking to keep that drive for next year. Webber likely to be leaving. Sato there you can see just putting a lap on the Jordan. Button putting a lap on the Jordan there. He leads the Grand Prix at the moment. Jenson Button on lap 31. Michael Schumacher, having made his 2nd stop of the afternoon, is just 3 seconds behind Button. But they're on slightly different strategies, as we saw.
Plenty of brake dust pouring out of the front of Jenson Button's car. This is now a much higher energy circuit. This is going to be Massa against Pitsonia. That was for position just after Pitsonia had stopped. But does he get a run back at him? The computer's showing Massa still ahead. No, it's not now. Pitsonia does hold that position. This is the sister Williams of Juan Pablo Montoya. He's currently P6.
Yeah, that was the battle for 10th place. And now Rubens Barrichello has also got past Felipe Massa. So Barrichello has stopped twice here this afternoon and is up into 11th place. That's the highest he's been since the first lap of the Grand Prix, when he lost his front wing. So Button leading on lap 31. Michael Schumacher's 3 seconds behind him. Alonso is 3rd, 16 seconds behind the race leader, with Coulthard just over 3 seconds behind the Renault of Alonso. Not seeming to be able to just chip away at that Renault's lead is David Coulthard throughout the Grand Prix. Christian Klein, there he is, 5th place at the moment for the Jaguar driver, yet to make his 2nd stop of the afternoon. Montoya is 6th. Klein were expected to come in, who saw the Jaguar guys there. There he is. And that's Sato's had a moment. Martin, coming into the stadium, Takuma Sato's been on the grass.
Yeah, that is where he went off in practice. He was a bit unlucky because there was some water from overnight rain, caught him out, but it didn't catch the others out. Did catch out Takuma, but I felt he was unlucky with that shunt yesterday. Clean pits from what was 6th place then, and he's having a solid run this afternoon. Takuma Sato, as ever, often just seems to be very near the ragged edge, doesn't he, but fast with it.
Yes, that's always the Derek and balancing act, isn't it? Just to be at the limit, but not to be 11 tenths, to be 10 tenths, and to keep it there. It's such a difficult balancing act, and well, Sato has had a real up and down season of results, performances in qualifying and the race, and a few little whispers starting to go around about him, but his position seems secure for 2005, but the team certainly want to redress the balance. In that team, Jenson Button's been doing all the point scoring, 53 points he scored compared to Sato. There he is, giving it a full 360 treatment.
It's quite an unusual spin that on the way into the stadium. Normally you just run wide, drop it on the curb, there's a dip on the exit which spits you out into a spin, but Sato had dropped that on the way in. Most unusual.
Very unusual. He's though running in 8th place. You're looking at the race leader. That's the stop pattern so far. Fisichella running long, as we've seen. Button using this unusual strategy, which just again underlines how awesome he was in qualifying yesterday. We've heard from Jeff Willis, the BAR technical director, that the amount of fuel he was carrying yesterday in comparison to Schumacher was worth half a second around this racetrack, and he was only 3/10 behind Schumacher, who put in what was widely considered to be the lap of the season. So Button's lap has to be reconsidered in the light of that, doesn't it?
Absolutely right, and Jenson Button's got a great chance of 2nd place today. He was homing in on Coulthard, who was keeping Alonso very honest in 2nd place, and Jenson appears to have more speed than all, especially at this phase where he's burning up his fuel and he's pulling away from Michael at this stage. Michael with a fresh load of fuel. Every 10 kilos that you add in penalise you about 1/3 of a second per lap, so it's a raw and straight line calculation. But Button then pulling away by 1/2 to 3/4 of a second as he moves towards his 2nd stop of the afternoon.
Yeah, it must be about 2 or 3 laps away from it now. He pitted on lap 14 and took on about 55, 60 kilos of fuel. So it's around about lap 35 he should be due to come in again. Ted, what can you tell us?
Just down at BAR, James, nothing's wrong with the car of Takuma Sato. They think he just had a bit of red mist chasing her with Montoya. He was much quicker than Montoya, so they've told him to calm down.
Okay then, is that the piece of, that looks like what they dragged out from underneath Trulli's car, doesn't it? Because that's been on a bit of a journey, that one.
Certainly has. McLaren mechanics just passing it around for inspection. We've heard from Ted that Pat Fry, one of the engineers at McLaren, has been down at the pit stop of David Coulthard to inspect his rear wing just to make sure it's holding firm. It is, so they're obviously comfortable to keep Coulthard in this Grand Prix.
I've worked with Pat, he's a great guy, but I don't think he's got X-ray eyes. And that's the problem with those situations. It's Button pits from the lead.
Important stop. Fighting for 2nd this afternoon. Where's he going to re-emerge? He had an 18-second advantage over Alonso, who comes down now into turn 1. Button gets up to speed. Is he going to take 2nd place off Alonso? Not quite.
But he's cleared Coulthard, so Button up to 3rd.
Yep, he's done very well. Cleared Coulthard. And I don't think Jenson Button, well, will he have to stop again here this afternoon? That's certainly an interesting question. Certainly the way he's gone into the race, you'd expect this to be a 2-stopper for Jenson Button, in which case we do think Alonso has to stop again. He seems to be following a 3-stop pattern, but will Button try and pass the Renault on the racetrack? Certainly the BAR, one of the quicker cars in this Grand Prix. Alonso putting in a strong performance though in the Renault. New engine here this weekend, big step on aerodynamics to try and consolidate their 2nd position in the championship. Louise is with Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi, you were obviously unhurt in that accident, but you did look very angry.
Huh?
You were obviously unhurt in that accident, which was good news, but you did look rather angry.
Why should I? I was disappointed because I could have challenged Michael big time, but there's nothing to do. I'm just trying to go now on the check and then I can go, so.
If you were David Coulthard right now in an identical car, would you be worried at the moment?
I don't know. Ask for me.
Thanks, Kimi.
That is one angry Finn.
Yeah, understandably set the fastest lap of the race, a new lap record. He was very much keeping Michael on his toes, and nothing he could do about that. Sad, and he's going to have a medical check, obviously, and he will leg it out of the circuit as quickly as he possibly can.
Well, it was nice of him to talk to Louise. She always gets her man, but I'm hearing from the crew down there that he's moving photographers out of the way in a very rude fashion. On board then with Jenson Button, having a look at Fernando Alonso, a Jordan in the mix as well. Alonso goes defensive. Can Button get him up the inside on acceleration? This Honda against the Renault. Keep your foot in it, Jenson. Keep your foot in. Alonso just giving him a little move across, and Jenson thought the better of it.
Jenson on the power much earlier. I'd have lost money on that one. I thought the BAR Honda would have out-dragged the Renault down there. The Renault's all about traction and good balance. And Jenson, if I'm looking at the speed computer here and records here, and Jenson very much looking like he's got the faster car on a straight line. But that, of course, is all about traction and acceleration. Nonetheless, I really thought Jenson had a good run in. Suddenly, there's a back marker in the way of Nick Heidfeld that sort of put him off his stroke a little bit. And look, he on the power much earlier, and I really thought that was going to happen.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because everyone's wondering why this Renault's such a good car to start at the start lines. Boris Becker there just watching this. And everyone says it's because it's got fantastic traction out of from the slow speed. And here again, you're seeing that. The Renault engine just seems to have the pickup out of the slow corners. But there's no question that the engine with the most grunt is the Honda in the back of that BAR. So if Button can get close to him, he might get him under braking. Having another little reminder look, not quite close enough. So that was just round one in a heavyweight contest.
But did Alonso go wide? Yes, he did. Alonso went wide, and still he's got the better traction, but Jenson's got the inside line. Alonso's got enough space. Jenson very kind to him there. Don't turn in, he'll have you around, Jenson. And Alonso then doing absolutely everything right to maintain that position, and he just wouldn't give up around the outside. Jenson particularly fair there.
Fantastic racing between Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button. Alonso, the man who took Jenson Button's place in the Renault team quite controversially a couple of years ago, but Button has certainly sprung back with BAR Honda, and here today he's taking the fight to Fernando Alonso. This is the battle for second place in this Grand Prix, behind Michael Schumacher, who's over the hills and far away, 15 seconds in the lead. And let's look again.
So Jenson then really not with a serious look. He's just trying to annoy Fernando Alonso at that point, and then takes up the normal racing line. But Alonso clearly was distracted, didn't lock a wheel, just went wide. Now again, you'd have to say Jenson should easily have that, but Alonso went around. Other drivers would have driven him clean out of road. Maybe next time Jenson will do the same thing. And this is not a replay. This is yet again Jenson in with a chance down at turn 3. Coulthard then with a watching brief in the background in 4th place.
Yeah, Coulthard just over 3 seconds behind these two, lapping in the same sort of pace, low 1:16s. They are losing a little bit of time to the cars behind Montoya, etc., but who cares about that, because this scrap is absolutely tremendous, and it's going to go on and on until I think Jenson Button either crashes into him or gets past him, because he isn't going to give up, is he?
This two young guys here, this is going to go on and on for years, James. If we don't get found out for some strange reason they renew our ITV contract, we are going to be talking about these two for years to come.
I look forward to it very, very much. Two of the best men in Grand Prix racing behind the wheel. Two of the nicest men in Grand Prix racing as well. Both intelligent young racing drivers, both very, very aggressive. Both men who push from start to finish in a Grand Prix. Both know how to overtake, and both are very, very quick. This time Button not quite so close to Alonso. Regrouping then, having another think about it. What's he going to do? How am I going to get past this car?
A little bit further behind this time, and Alonso makes the apex, no problem. What's it do for Coulthard? He's edging back towards them now, just 3 seconds adrift, and collectively they've dropped Montoya. Montoya falling away now in P5, and a good gap back to Webber, then 6th, Sato 7th, Fisichella 8th, Pizzonia 9th, clean in the second, Jaguar 10th. Barrichello is 11th at the moment, recovering the teammate of the current leader by 16.2 seconds.
Lap 42 of a Grand Prix that really we're enjoying rather a lot. German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Michael Schumacher is 17 seconds clear in the front, but the battle for the rest of the podium positions is wide open. Alonso, Jenson Button and David Coulthard also in the mix as well. A lot of racing still to go here in the 25 laps, but well, just a moment ago we saw Cristiano De Mata have a very worrying moment that might have some implications for the rest of the field, Martin.
Yeah, it's changed around since last year. Last year, Bridgestone was struggling with blisters. Michael dropping out of the race late on, or having a problem late on. And this year, it's the Michelin runners, and it's the blisters under the surface that create this kind of delamination or punctures, rather than the ones Ted talks about that he can see down in the pit lane that really hurts your lap time and your performance. It's the ones that they, when they cut the tyre open, the ones they can see that they're most concerned about. And that was a smoking McLaren there of David Coulthard when he reapplied the throttle after the overrun. This is another angle of De Mata's Toyota. Only the second car to drop out of this Grand Prix this afternoon. Raikkonen the other, of course, with that big smash in turn one with a rear wing failure. And you have to say this looks a bit more than just a tyre failure. Jeff Willis joins us from BAR. What do you make of all this Michelin stuff, Jeff? You're on them too.
We have no problems with Michelins. We're very happy. Maybe some people have got some blistering problems, but at the moment both cars are very good.
Now Jensen's sort of dropped back a little bit from Alonso. Do you think he punished those tyres a bit too hard when he went out and did all that chasing around?
Certainly you need to protect the tyres here. As you say, very hot, blistering problem, sort of risk. Yes, he's going to have another go, I'm sure. We're talking to him about what we do to try and get him past Alonso.
Well, he certainly seems to always get him at the hairpin, and it's just a question of traction coming out of it. We're frankly surprised, given the power of the Honda, that he wasn't able those two times, Jeff, to out-drag the Renault. What was that all about?
I think we're surprised as well. It's possibly that we don't have the advantage we need at mid-range, or maybe our traction's not very good there, so we're having a look at what else we can do.
And what about it tactically, Jeff? We've got, 24 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. Does Jensen presumably has to stop again, and you expect Alonso the same?
That's the golden question, isn't it? I better not tell you anything, so I'm sure Renault people will be listening.
Always playing it cagey. Well, listen, the very best of luck. A podium certainly on the horizon, but second place would be nice today, wouldn't it?
It would be a very good result from this weekend, certainly.
Thank you very much, Jeff Willis, Technical Director of BAR. And let's not forget, Martin, these two fighting each other for second in the Constructors' Championship behind Ferrari, BAR and Honda, both keen today to prove who's got the faster car in Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, well, Jensen's got 5 laps more worth of fuel on board at the moment, which will be penalising him a little bit, but he's now 2.7 seconds adrift of Alonso, 3.2 ahead of Coulthard. Jensen's pace is back up again, so no dramas, I think. Alonso just 16 seconds behind Michael. Michael did a 1:16.0. Is he coasting? Did he get traffic? We don't know. We've barely seen the race leader, actually, have we?
Not really. It's been a very entertaining race behind him. He's probably not seen much of it either. There you can see Norbert Haug, a few consoling words for Raikkonen, whose bad luck at this Grand Prix is absolutely extraordinary. He's yet to finish a German Grand Prix in his Formula One career, and he made his debut here back in 2001. This place just doesn't like him, but how many times have we seen Raikkonen leaving a track during a Grand Prix? A tremendously promising drive cut short by some sort of reliability issue. He's got every right to be angry.
Kimi Raikkonen doesn't say much, but I wouldn't, just watching that replay of him talking there in the McLaren, I don't think I would have wanted to have been on the receiving end of what he just said. We couldn't see his lips moving, but I'm pretty comfortable, I know, that he'll be giving them a hard time.
Looks like Nick Heidfeld has got some issues with that, Jordan, not going very quickly. The car wobbling about all over the place, so hopefully he'll get out of Mark Webber's way. This is lap 45 of 66. Schumacher leading by 15 seconds, just monitoring the pace here, but behind him it's all go between Alonso, Button, Coulthard, then a gap with Montoya and Webber in 6th place. Lap 47 of the German Grand Prix. Ferrari are getting ready for a pit stop from one of their two drivers. Michael Schumacher leading this race, but Fernando Alonso is cutting the gap to him at the moment. It's down to 13.9 seconds. Schumacher's had a fairly slow lap the last time by. Rubens Barrichello we're looking at here. He is, he's just broken into the top 10 for the first time in this Grand Prix, and he did so by passing the Jaguar of Christian Klien. But it's been a fairly quiet afternoon for Rubens Barrichello. There he is. Lost his nose, front wing, in an accident in the first lap. and since then he's been very much on the back foot. And you saw there Antonio Pizzoni as well, making his third and final stop of the afternoon. He was in 7th place as the race leader comes in, and Alonso will take the lead after this.
Yeah, it'll be the second time Alonso's led, and he'll pit before Jenson Button. It'll be the third time Button's led the race, is obviously our prediction. And mechanics there in the pit lane, there's lots of cars expected in this time around.
Alonso will not take the lead because he too has pitted, as has David Coulthard, who was 8 seconds behind him. So for the third time this afternoon, Jenson Button from Frome in Somerset, 24 years old, is leading the German Grand Prix, a track that's always been good to him, Hockenheim. He's never qualified inside the top 12, and yet he's always come through in the points here. Some fantastic drives over the years, and once again he's showing them the way. You're looking though at the Renault with Juan Montoya there behind, locked up behind Alonso.
And Alonso needs to keep this position because I think Montoya will hold him up. If not, this is quite important. This could help Jenson Button out a treat. Montoya locks it badly. Now we've seen how good the Renault is out of that corner. He just drives clean past the Williams. And Montoya blew that one a little bit. But Alonso must not let Montoya through. He's not racing him really for overall position in this Grand Prix, but it'll compromise him against Button.
Absolutely right. Montoya out of sequence with Alonso. Montoya still has one more stop to make. The other thing Alonso must not do is allow Montoya to make him lose time. He definitely lost time there, and he only had a couple of seconds in his pocket over Jenson Button before Alonso made his stop. So the more time that Montoya can lose, waste if you like, of Alonso's here, the better it is for Button, the better the chance that when he comes out after his third and final stop here this afternoon, he will take a net second place and be in front of the Renault driver. It's been a tremendous scrap really all afternoon behind Michael Schumacher. Some fantastic racing. Montoya though, well, that hope of Button's is gone now because he's in the pits.
Yeah, Button is catching Jarno Trulli, Alonso's teammate, so we'll watch out for any shenanigans there as Sato pits in the second BAR. But Button then, we know he's going to go probably 5 laps more than Alonso. He's been very fast in those 5-lap periods where he's in a lighter car, and this could be the moment where he solidly takes second place in this Grand Prix. Depends how easily he can get past Trulli in the sister Renault.
Well, Button's last lap, a 1:14.8, so he's definitely pressing on. In comes Christian Klien from 8th, the final of the points-paying positions. He's got some work to do if he's going to score a point here this afternoon. Pretty amazing reliability so far, Martin. Only 3 cars out of the Grand Prix. Nick Heidfeld, who retired a moment ago with what looked like some sort of handling problem. Cristiano Di Matteo had a tyre failure we saw rather spectacularly. And Kimi Räikkönen, a rear wing failure when absolutely flying down the main straight. Rear wing flew off his McLaren. He's out of the Grand Prix. Some pretty close calls in the pits today. Very nearly hit each other a couple of times.
Yeah, that release looked more than a bit marginal there, but you've got to get the driver out. Panis then getting the Toyota away. Remember, he stalled on the grid and had to start from the pit lane, and just no grip when he got down to turn 2. What was that all about? Almost like he forgot to turn in. Clearly didn't. Just running out of grip when he got there. Panis struggling around in the second half of the field.
Yeah, and that was for position because he came out, Felipe Massa, he was racing against. And so Massa has taken that 13th place away from him. So that was a very strange moment for Panis. And not a great debut, you'd have to say, for the new Toyota. They've thrown a lot of money and time and research at this. And Di Matta's out of the Grand Prix, having not really figured. And Olivier Panis is down in 14th place.
Yeah, on Di Matta, we were saying, you said tyre failure there. We have to be careful on that because it could have been a puncture. There has been debris on the racetrack, although it did look like a structural problem down there. We need to just qualify that one. Button leads by 9 seconds from Michael Schumacher. It's a 15.5 and Button pits. That's disappointing. Ted.
It is, but here he goes. Let's have a look. It was 2 laps after Takuma Sato. He hits his marks very well, does Jenson Button. They had a bit of a problem getting the fuel hose on, but everything is collected. Well done. Oh, it's off now. 7.1.
He needed 19 seconds to get back out in front of Alonso. There is Alonso. Has he been able to do it? No, he can't get up to speed quite fast enough. And it's a carbon copy of what happened after the second stop. Jenson Button then not able to do quite enough, but he has a brand new set of tyres on that car. Alonso doesn't. He's got to attack him in the next couple of laps.
Same fuel load. They're both fueled to the end. What's Jenson doing there with his hand on the side of his helmet? Button holding his visor or something down the straight. Yeah. And look, Alonso's made a mistake again. but he's so quick under acceleration. Jensen can do nothing about it. I hoped he'd go another 5 laps and make the difference, but he pitted much earlier than we perhaps anticipated, and that's cost them a clean second place at the moment. He's going to have to go and take it away from Alonso now.
Well, looking at that visor, you can see there's some flapping, but I think that's just a tear off, isn't it? Flapping on the left-hand side of his helmet. Nothing. You can see him holding his head again. He's obviously having some sort of problem. It's something that's flapping. It's causing an irritation, whatever it is, and it means he's taking his eye off the ball. He's not 100% focused on getting past that Renault.
Jensen's so much faster in the slow corners, and they're coming up now to lap the fight between Massa and Panis. They're 13th and 14th. But he's got to make it stick. In the next phase, with the last set of tyres, Alonso started edging away. Jensen's got to make it count now.
Well, one of the reasons that Alonso was able to edge away was that Jensen Button got caught up in a bit of traffic. But here he is again, you see, just putting his hand up. It's almost as if he's combing some hair out of his eyes, but it's not, is it? It's a visor, it's something that's just not working for him. There he is again now, on board. There's a lot of vibration there. What do you see?
It looks like the tear-off flapping. They need to tell him to tear that off. Was that going around the outside of Alonso this time? We're busy watching Jensen. And can he now make it go around there? No, Alonso not
Here
quite...
Here he goes, he's going for it. Up the inside, up the apex. He's made it stick. Button is into second place. What a brilliant, brilliant move by Jensen Button. And the VAR guys love it. We all love it too. Flavio doesn't like it very much, but that was brave in the extreme by Jensen Button. And now can he pull away from the Renault of Fernando Alonso?
Maybe he should drive with one hand more often. Great stuff from Button. Alonso less polite through the flat-out right-hander. Jensen just held it in position and nailed him under braking because he got such a much better car in the slow corners. And now I think he'll just comfortably pull away.
Here we go again. Let's have a look at what has happened. Button, we didn't see that originally. We were too busy looking at him holding onto his helmet. Then you can see that it was a classic scenario where Alonso was able to get the acceleration. But let's have a look at how he got past him.
Yeah, well, Jensen then, we'd missed the right-hander, but Jensen just stuck it up the inside, really. Alonso very, very cautious under braking, struggling a bit with his car. Jensen has followed him long enough to know where he's got the advantage. He had actually taken second place, went into turn 4 too hot into the hairpin, but had to make it stick down there in turn 6. You'll see Alonso not really giving as much space. No, you won't see Alonso doing that. You'll see David Richards looking rather tense about his newfound second place.
So Michael Schumacher leads the Grand Prix. Jensen Button is in second place. He's only 10 seconds behind the Ferrari. So while all this excitement's been going on, Schumacher has not been pulling away. He's kind of managing the gap to them, but he's not driving away here this afternoon. He's not taking any chances, basically. Driving percentage-wise, he's got the fastest car. 10 seconds the margin only then. Alonso is third, right behind Jensen Button on the track. Then 7 seconds further back from Alonso in fourth place is David Coulthard. Montoya is 11 seconds behind Coulthard in fifth place. Webber is 13 seconds behind Montoya in sixth, as Button once again holds on to that tear-off strip. And then you've got Sato and Pizzonia, the last of the 2 points-paying positions. Rubens Barrichello, 9 seconds off the points at the moment.
It looks to me like it's just a tear-off that's just high resonance. The team needs to, I don't know if Jeff still listens to us. Surely they can tell him just tear that off. It looks like he's got 2 or 3 left on there. And it must be such high resonance, it's really hurting at high speed there.
You hear a vibration, do you, presumably?
Yeah, it's flapping away on the side then. It's going to get into this massive vibration as the Toyota of Panis came dangerously close to running into the back of Jensen Button. But look, great speed, 9.7 seconds. He was behind Michael Schumacher at the end of the last lap. Schumi's going to have to get back on it again. Ted.
More important than that visor, Jensen Button is furious about back markers not moving out the way, not obeying the blue flags. The team are going to try and get on to Charlie Whiting about that. But just on the visor, it's a new Bell helmet that Jensen's using. What happens, the visor actually sort of pops out and then flips up. But then when he puts it down again, he hasn't managed to disengage or re-engage it, popping back into its little housing.
So maybe he's concerned that the visor's actually coming out rather than the rip-off itself, because he knows the rip-offs are there, so he'd just be pulling them off. So maybe it is actually trying to escape from that side of the crash helmet. Doesn't look like it, does it?
Well, you needn't worry too much about Fernando Alonso because he's just lost 3 seconds on that lap in traffic. So traffic definitely a problem this afternoon, not just for Button, but for Alonso as well. But the headline news is that Button is pushing hard despite this visor. He's still attacking Michael Schumacher, who is showing signs he's about to respond. He's 10 seconds behind Schumacher, and we've only got 12 laps to go here at Hockenheim. Lap 57 of the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. It's all action here, and there's a great chance of 2 British drivers on the podium here this afternoon. Jenson Button is already in second place, trying to chase down Michael Schumacher, the race leader, but Schumacher just responding. He's now just over 10 seconds behind Schumacher. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso is in trouble. We think there's a problem with his left rear tyre on this Renault. He's certainly struggling under braking, and that means David Coulthard, in the sole remaining McLaren here this afternoon, has a shot at his first podium since Suzuka last year.
Well, he's had so many cars lining up behind him, Alonso. He's getting used to parking it on the apex. He's very slow in the slow turns. He's good and fast, no problem at all in the high-speed stuff. This is a cutaway to Jenson Button. Coulthard then just a few tenths behind at this stage. Montoya now just 5 seconds behind the pair of them. As Alonso's going so slowly, it's given Montoya a chance to get back, and they look like they're getting ready to do something with a spare helmet for Jenson Button. Maybe they're just sort of working on another one to see what they might be able to do. Button driving one-handed for most of the race. There then is second place, third place Alonso, fourth place Coulthard, Montoya not too far behind them. These pair have got to get on with it. Montoya will have them.
Certainly will. Mark Webber is in 6th place for Jaguar, but Takuma Sato is catching him at the moment quite quickly, with Antonio Pizzoni on his Williams debut in 8th. And Louise has some news for us.
Yeah, BAR have been having a close look at a spare helmet of Jenson Button's to see if there's anything they can do to help him with that problem that we've seen him having with his visor not clicking back into position. The simplest solution, if he requires something, is I think just to stick some tape over the corner of it. But for the moment, Jenson hasn't actually said anything on the radio, so we're hoping that he's just going to be able to live with it.
Tell us what it's like as a driver then. You've got a problem with the visor. I mean, it's presumably taking a heck of a lot of wind, hitting it full on. If you open your visor at speed, what does it feel like? Yeah,
what's happening, it gets very, very noisy, and a lot of air coming through. It makes your eyes water, you get dirt into your eyes. So that's why he's holding it down on the straights. Panis departing the pit then, but I'd be surprised if Jenson needed to come in for that, frankly. Unless the visor disappears, then he'll have to come in, and that would be most surprising. But I can understand why, just in case, they're getting ready with a fix.
Well, Michael Schumacher is leading this Grand Prix, as he has done literally for most of it. Jenson Button's led it at 3 stages after Schumacher has made pit stops, or when he's been in the pits, I should say. Button on a slightly different sort of strategy from him this afternoon. Certainly paid off for him. He started in 13th place on the grid, Jenson Button, and he fought his way up into second. Certainly he was helped out in the early stages by a brilliant first stop, which jumped 3 cars, and since then he's been mustered on the track. He's been passing cars, and he's got himself up into second place at the moment, and just got it under 10 seconds now, the gap between him to Michael Schumacher. Took a couple of tenths again out of him that lap, but it's not really going to be enough for him to get past. Now, we've seen Alonso struggling since Button passed him about 6 laps ago. He's dropped 13 seconds off the back of the BAR. Ted, why is that?
Down at Renault, it's a problem with his front wing. Fernando's radioed in and says it feels funny, there's not right, the grip's not right. Team manager Steve Nielsen has come off the pit wall and had a good, well, as much of a good look as he can when Fernando whizzes past the pit straight to have a look what's wrong. But just it's worth noting that Alonso's running a different front wing to Trulli in this race. It's a development front wing, so maybe something's just broken.
Thanks for that, Ted. What's a bit surprising is Alonso just popped it back into the 1:14s again, actually dropping Coulthard by 3/4. And that is strange. I mean, his pace is rather variable. And Montoya now just 3.7 seconds behind 4th place man David Coulthard. A podium spot is definitely up for grabs for Alonso, Coulthard and Montoya. Webber too far behind in 6th. Then it's Sato and Pizzonia 7th and 8th. Barrichello's got to find 7.5 seconds on Pizzonia if he's going to score a World Championship point in the Ferrari today.
Well, the task for Ferrari to clinch the constructors here this afternoon was to score 13 points more than Renault, currently in 2nd in the championship. There's no question that Ferrari will win the constructors, but I know Michael Schumacher was very, very keen to do it here in Hockenheim to offer something to his German fans. He's never actually clinched anything in Germany before, apart from the odd race win. He's come here as champion, he's come here fighting for championships, but never clinched anything here. And I know it was something he really wanted to do, but, well, Rubens Barrichello didn't do a great job in qualifying yesterday. 7th on the grid, got himself tangled up at the start, lost his nose, and with it, any chance of taking big points today. He could have been second, and that might have made quite a difference. There's the BAR guys just looking at what the problem is with the way that visor is slipping back into place. But certainly for the last 20 laps or so, Button has been doing this, holding on to the left-hand side of his visor, because his visor has been flapping around on the straights.
Yeah, I think you can see that the retaining clip has gone, so the visor's just moving out as he's going along, and it gets real noisy and windy. But it's not a reason to pit, absolutely not a reason to pit, unless it disappears completely, as I said. He's 9.1 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. Schumi cruising to a certain extent. Jensen driving one-handed through all of the straights, and I'm a bit nervous of him making an error on the way into a corner, but he looked smooth enough. Alonso still maintaining third over Coulthard by an increasing margin. Montoya now beginning to put pressure on Coulthard.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Schumacher had been taking it easy, measuring the gap to the field. Then Button hit second place and started to eat into that lead, got it down to sort of 9 seconds, and Schumacher kind of responded and took it on. But if Button didn't have this going on, if Button was able to run at the speed that he feels he can, which would be in the sort of mid to high 114s, I wonder whether he wouldn't be able to take the fight to Michael Schumacher. We heard Kimi Raikkonen earlier saying he reckoned he could give Schuey a run for his money today. Maybe Button might feel the same. We'll hear in the press conference after the race, but certainly it's a distraction.
I think Michael had to put the Financial Times away, didn't he, and start concentrating again. We've barely seen him. He's been out front the entire time. He's playing around to a certain extent out there. Had it in the bag. As soon as Montoya didn't get off the line and Raikkonen ended up in the hedge, Michael pretty much had this all under control. That's Jeff Willis, who we've been talking to during the Grand Prix. He's got other problems on his mind now, but I think they should just about be okay with that one.
Have you ever had anything like this go on? I mean, it's like a seatbelt coming loose, or something loose in your cockpit under the pedals, or anything like that?
Yeah, seatbelts coming undone during a Grand Prix. That's the terrifying one. Do you go into the pits or not? And you end up doing the last 20 laps of a race with no seatbelts on, which is just about the silliest thing you can do. But when adrenaline's going and a few points are on offer, you don't pit.
If he did pit now, depending on how long he actually stopped for, he would drop down to 6th this afternoon. He's currently 2nd. He will stay out there for as long as he possibly can. Giorgio Pantano going rather slowly. We saw Nick Heidfeld doing the same thing earlier on. The Ferrari just about gets around the outside. Looks like the 2nd Jordan retirement of the afternoon then for Giorgio Pantano.
Barrichello still 9th, but just 3.9 now behind Takuma Sato in 8th. Pizzoni has passed Sato up to 7th. Lots of action going on all the way down the field. And Pizzoni and Barrichello struggling like crazy there, under braking down in turn 2, and that's cost him a chance of a point to a certain extent. He's now got to make all that space up one more time. So Michael Schumacher leads by 9.6 from Button. Alonso 11.8 behind Button. Coulthard a further 2.3 behind. And this is Rubens with a strange half lock-up of the brakes on downshift. So pushing as hard as he can. He's got a chance of a point or two. Coulthard 4th, Montoya 5th, Webber 6th. Pizzoni, as I said, just a few tenths now behind Mark Webber.
Well, this is round 12 of the World's Championship this year. We're going to have 18 Grand Prix stretching through to Brazil in October. And Michael Schumacher heading for the 11th victory in 12 races. And interestingly, yesterday, Ross Brawn, Ferrari technical director, saying that they've frozen development on this car now, chassis-wise. There is one more step to come on the engine, but most of the progress they're expecting to make for the rest of the season will come from the tyres. And that's quite interesting news, I think, for BAR, for Williams and McLaren, all of whom are pushing hard on developing their chassis to the end of the year. And maybe they might feel they can get a bit closer to Michael Schumacher in the end of this season.
Strange, isn't it? Remember here last year, Montoya won the race by over a minute? Easy, wasn't it? They had such a fast car, Williams, at this stage last year. Fastest lap of the race was a 14.9 then. This year's been a 1:13.7, so the game has moved on. And now you've got Williams just 1 year later in 5th and 7th places. Montoya's relentless pursuit with Coulthard has slowed down now. He's 3.2 seconds adrift. We've got a little bit of stalemate there now, third, fourth and fifth. Alonso seems to have it covered despite his problems.
It's been an eventful afternoon, no doubt about that. Michael Schumacher making a clean start after a very good getaway for Fernando Alonso. Kimi Raikkonen managed to pass him, and Raikkonen was taking the fight here this afternoon to the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher, but then his rear wing flew off and forcing him into retirement, so he has yet to finish the German Grand Prix in his career. A very, very angry Kimi Raikkonen leaving the racetrack. Unlike Silverstone, he was unable to get second place. Then we saw Jenson Button. Different strategy here this afternoon. Tremendous qualifying performance in light of how much fuel he must have been carrying yesterday. He managed to use the pit stop strategy to jump some cars. He's fought his way up from 13th place to second here this afternoon. Montoya, he wasn't really a challenger, struggling with blistering tyres on his Williams. And we've had some tremendous scraps between Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso. Mark Webber has been in the mix as well. And Ted has a final bit of news for us.
Just very quickly, all smiles down at Jaguar, not only because Mark Webber's in sixth, because after Antonio Pizzonia having given the team such a slapping this weekend, he's behind them.
Yes, he really did have a go, and a lot of people thought that was off colour. Pizzonia claiming that he was badly treated last year at Jaguar. He didn't have equal equipment with Webber, and well, a lot of people finding that a bit off colour, as I say. And I can imagine a sweet moment really for Jaguar. Webber in a Jaguar beating Pizzonia in a Williams here this afternoon. But no doubt who the big hero of the afternoon has been.
Michael Schumacher then effortlessly moving towards another Grand Prix victory. Bernie Eccleston said on the grid to me he's got to retire soon. Either he's got to retire or they've got to ban Germans and red cars if they want to stop this brilliant victory run.
The air horns go all around this stadium. 130,000 people, the great majority of them here to see this man win another Grand Prix. It's his 11th win of the season. It equals his record from 2002. It's the third time he has won on home soil, and listen to this. Jenson Button comes through just 9 seconds behind Schumacher to claim an absolutely momentous second place here this afternoon. A tremendous drive from Jenson Button. We do not get two Brits on the podium because David Coulthard couldn't get ahead of Fernando Alonso. So Alonso is up on the podium in third place. Coulthard finishes fourth. A quiet afternoon for Juan Montoya in fifth place in the Williams, and then it will be Mark Webber coming through to claim sixth place. Here he comes out of the final turn now. Pizzonia is only a couple of car lengths behind him, but it's not enough, and Webber finishes sixth. Tremendous result for him. I'm getting a lift back to home with him this evening, and he will be very buoyed up. Pizzonia seventh, and Sato in eighth place. I have to ask you about the driver of the day. There's no doubt who my driver of the day is. I suspect you might say the same thing.
Yeah, Jenson Button, easy, and I'm assuming that's what you're going to say. Great run, got really out of shape on the first lap. Disadvantage, got himself on the outside of turn 2, so dropped places from his 13th grid slot, but then drove brilliantly through the field. Excellent run from him, and Louise is down with Jeff Willis.
Jeff, what a fantastic result. Definitely our driver of the day. Starting from 13th place on the grid, could you have imagined he'd have got up to second?
Well, we did know the car was very quick, and we thought hard about the qualifying and where we needed to put him, and Jenson's done a fantastic job. The car's worked fantastically all weekend, so well done to everybody, BAR, Honda, Michelin. It's a fantastic result for us.
Just explain to us a bit about what was going on with Jenson's helmet.
We thought he had a problem with the visor, but it transpires he couldn't breathe very well, and he was trying to crack it open a bit.
Just imagine if Jenson had started in P3, if you hadn't had that engine problem, dropping in 10 places on the grid, what would the result have been? It would have been a win, wouldn't it?
Well, those are the ifs and buts of motor racing, aren't they? We can only guess, but fantastic result for us today. It's a very, very good second place. It's probably the best second place I've ever had.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'm not surprised he's happy. It wouldn't have been P3 on the grid that Jenson would have started from either, would it? Because he was, with 5 extra laps of fuel in the car, being third on the grid as he was, he means he had a faster car in qualifying yesterday than Schumacher, so he would have been on pole. And if he hadn't had to take the engine change, he certainly could have been in with a chance of winning this Grand Prix here this afternoon. That's the scale of where BAR Honda were this weekend with Jenson.
Yeah, if he'd had the same fuel load as Michael, he probably would have been on pole. There's lots of ifs there. The fact is, unfortunately, Michael won it quite comfortably, but you have to say Jenson, along with Kimi Raikkonen, without their various problems, could have given Michael a pretty serious run this afternoon. Sadly, it fell apart.
Just seeing Rubens Barrichello on the start-finish straight, Martin. Looks like he's had some sort of problem. Has he got a puncture there? He's stopped just across the finish line.
Yeah, left rear puncture down there for Rubens Barrichello, just to cement an awful afternoon from him. He actually finished 12th. He dropped from 9th to 12th, but he wasn't going to get a World Championship point. So Michael wins comfortably in one Ferrari, and Barrichello sadly down in 12th in the other with a number of dramas.
Welcome back to central Germany, where the home crowd are very happy indeed. 130,000 of them have turned out at Hockenheim here this afternoon on a beautiful sunny day to see this man equal his record of wins for the season, the record he set back in 2002. 11 Grand Prix victories in 12 races. He loves to dominate. He certainly dominated here this afternoon, but there is still a lingering question of what might have been. Kimi Räikkönen gave him a fight early on, and Jenson Button had to fight through from 13th place on the grid to finish in second, just 8 seconds behind. Clearly Schumacher was nursing the gap, but Button definitely drove outstandingly well this afternoon. And Fernando Alonso, the third man to finish on the podium.
He also equals a record set in 1952, I'm reading here from the ITV team, of 6 consecutive victories in a season. This is his 6th consecutive one from Ascari. And as usual, he doesn't look too hot and sweaty about it, does he? How far did you win by? I should have said that on your pit board, Jenson, though.
There's Alonso, looking hot and sweaty this afternoon. There's Briatore. We've seen plenty of emotion from him this afternoon. Despair when his driver Trulli was passed, and then plenty of other emotion as well. Ross Brawn, he's pretty happy with his afternoon's work. Well, we've heard Schumacher paying lots of compliments to Jenson Button in the early part of this season, and once again the two finding themselves next to each other on the podium. Rubens Barrichello's series of points finishes comes to an end, Martin. It was 12 races in a row he'd been in the points, and today he finished down in 12th place. So that little sequence is broken, but he's still the only man to have finished every Grand Prix this season. Well, the man he most fears is not up on the podium with him. Kimi Räikkönen is on his way to the airport in high dudgeon, his rear wing having flown off the McLaren earlier on. But surely Räikkönen will be back to challenge. But for the moment, Schumacher savouring Yet another trophy in this quite unbelievable season. What a great, great champion he is. And collecting the Constructors' Trophy. So I beg your pardon, the second place driver. 7th podium this season then for Jenson Button. 3rd time he's finished 2nd. He's also finished in 3rd place on 4 occasions. And a developing respect as well as friendship between those two men, Schumacher and Button. And Alonso, another man happy to be up there.
Yeah, Alonso, curious, wasn't it? He really looked like he was on his back foot and falling through the field, and just suddenly upped his pace again. Either found a new way to drive the car, or whatever his problem was, went away. So a German, a Brit and a Spaniard then, a very cosmopolitan podium today.
So once again, this track has given us a terrific race. Michael Schumacher has won his 11th race in 12 starts. But top Brit Button, helmet problems or not, is our hero in Hockenheim.
Spot on, James. Well done, Michael. What a drive from Jenson Button, starting an unlucky 13th, finishing second. First of the losers. Not in my book this time. Alonso just keeping David Coulthard off the podium. We will hear from them all and from Mark Blundell when you rejoin us in Hockenheim. We've enjoyed a Super Grand Prix here at Hockenheim this afternoon. Michael Schumacher has won the German Grand Prix. That makes it 11 wins out of 12 this season. Let me just confirm the result for you then. Schumacher scooping up those 10 points once again. Jenson Button 8 points. That actually takes him past 100 points in his career. Alonso somehow holding on to 3rd place. David Coulthard denied his first podium of the season. Montoya 5th for Williams. Montoya last year's winner. Then Webber right up there in 6th place for the Jaguar. Pitsonia, who was in the Jaguar last season, actually was elbowed out of it. 7th in the Williams. The Jaguar team will like that one. And Sato a point for BAR. So both drivers in the points of BAR. That's how it looks at the moment as we move into our 3-week break. Then Michael Schumacher, 110 points. Rubens Barrichello failed to score for the first time in a dozen races today on 74. Button 3rd now, and a clear 3rd too on 61. Trulli 46, Alonso 39, Montoya 6 behind Fernando Alonso, Coulthard moving up to 19, Raikkonen so unfortunate today on 18, and Takuma Sato has scored 15 points.
Well, Takuma, points finish, double points finish for BAR. Are you happy with the result or are we a bit disappointed?
One thing is happy, obviously, we had a really strong result today here, but unfortunately I couldn't make as many as possible. I had the hands device problem, it's the slip off from the belt. And often it happens I have to bring him up myself. It cost us quite a lot because so many coming the mistake as well. So overtake and be overtaken, and it was quite a tough race.
How long were you struggling with that for? Quite a lot of the race?
Yeah, I mean, maybe after the start I felt there's something wrong in the left-hand side. And firstly it was only left-hand side problem. But gradually, after the pit stop, I all the time bring him back. But then it's completely off, a slip off. When I was braking, it slipped off, and then suddenly I lost control and come off the circuit. But
well, a tough race, so well done for bringing the car home in the points.
Okay, yeah, it was a tough race, but important thing, so we got a point.
Michael, what a day in front of your home crowd.
Yeah, what a weekend, you have to say. Yesterday, pole position. Today, the victory. Pretty tough race, especially at the beginning when Kimi was putting on the pressure. And then Jenson had a fantastic drive, and together with Fernando, it was a battle. And the gap I had initially, I sort of was able to keep, but not really extend. And in this way, it was a little bit difficult, especially at the beginning, as Jenson was staying out after his first pit stop pretty long, and it wasn't sure whether they would maybe be even on a 2-stop strategy. So it was a tough race. Not knowing what was going on at several stages in the race.
And just before he went off at turn 1, Kimi was right behind you there after that first pit stop.
Yeah, he was right behind, and he was quick, no doubt. I think you have the general trend that between the tyre manufacturers you have certain stages in the race where one is quicker than the other, and then it's the other way around later. So I wasn't too worried as long as he was behind me. And in terms of strategy, I think it could have worked out. But it would have been a tough one, no doubt.
Looked to be some pretty nifty pit work from the Ferrari crew there. Lap 47 on your 3rd stop, just after Rubens had cleared the road there.
What do you mean?
Rubens had just come in and then you came in straight after him.
Okay, I didn't know that. It was when I came in, everything was clear, and our guys just superb, and even under pressure, they don't crack, and that's what's so fantastic about them.
Thank you, Jensen. A great drive. I guess a compliment that Michael thought at one point you might have been on 2 stops.
Well, the car's been working great all weekend, and it's difficult because, you know, I'm so happy to have finished second, and for me it was the best drive of my career. And I had the best car underneath me. You know, the car performed fantastic, and also the engine. But it's slightly disappointing that if I'd started third, it could have been a different story. It could have been a lot more pressure on Michael, which I would have enjoyed very much. But that's not to be. You know, we've got to wait for that. But all in all, it's a fantastic result, and got to say a big thank you to the team.
Well, you actually led the race as early as lap 13. Can you talk us through that early stage?
Sure. The first lap, I initially got a good start, and then I got stuck behind Taku at turn 1 on the outside, and I lost a lot of places. I think I ended up the first lap in the 13th still, and then just worked my way up a little bit, and then after the first stop, you know, the team did a fantastic job, and I came out in 5th or 6th or something, so very happy.
And a brilliant race with Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, we had a good little tussle. He's not the easiest guy to overtake, but he's very fair, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
We saw you on the camera playing with your helmet quite a lot on the side there. What was the problem?
Well, the team initially thought it was a visor, but it wasn't. It was the strap under the helmet was a little bit loose, and the problem is then that when the helmet's loose, it lifts up slightly, and then it was really catching on my throat, and made it very difficult to breathe. So I had to hold it on every straight to keep it down so that I can get some air in.
Well, you did a great job. Fernando, looking fantastic for P2 there. 14 laps to go. What happened?
Well, I don't know really. At the beginning I thought the front wing problem. I thought that something was broken there. And then I thought a suspension problem. It was impossible to turn in, no front end at all. And I did 3 laps running at 18s, 19s, and David arrived. Montoya was very close, and I even called the pit, to come in that lap and check. And they said, stay down. It's 13 laps to go. Maximum you arrive 6th or 7th, and you take some points. So, I was really worried at that stage. And I don't know what happened. I touched one curb and at turn 6, and the car back to normal. So from there, was a normal race. The last 12 laps, 11 laps.
Great effort. You've made many brilliant starts in your career with Renault. Was this the best you've ever made?
Well, this was one of the best. I think the best one was in Indianapolis, from 9th to 3rd. But this one, if I qualify 4th yesterday, probably I get first position in the first corner. But anyway, to be second was a great surprise.
Congratulations, David. Best result of the season. Are you pleased with it?
Well, I wish I could say I was, but I'm not. I picked up some damage when Rubens hit me at the hairpin, which broke the rear wing end plate. And I picked up some more damage when I hit the debris from Kimi. So the engineers worked quite hard to keep adjusting the car at the pit stops to dial out the understeer which the car had. But putting that to one side, I was a little bit surprised. At the beginning of the run, the car felt quite good, and then it slips away during the race, and it just seemed to be up against the brick wall a little bit in performance, and really wanted to get a good result here today and battle to race. I was looking forward to a race with Jensen, but unfortunately he passed me at the pit stop, so it didn't happen.
You say the performance slipped away. Was that a result of the damage that you were speaking about earlier on, or something else?
Definitely that played a part, but Magny-Cours and Silverstone, we sort of have the pace at the beginning, and then we don't really go any quicker after that, so we need to try and understand why that is.
Did you have any concerns when Kimi had the rear wing failure?
I didn't know he had a rear wing failure. No one told me, so can't worry about something you don't know about.
Kimi Räikkönen had that rear wing failure. I guess, David Richards, if you hadn't had that failure on Friday in your BAR with Jenson Button 10 places down the grid, we could be talking to you as the winner here today.
Motor racing's like that, isn't it? You can't ever look backwards. These things happen, and we got the best that we could from today.
Still an astonishing effort to get Jenson up from 13th to runner-up.
No, Jenson drove an immaculate. I'm sure it'll say it's his best race ever, and the team just dug really deep last night, and they were a little despondent after Friday, but last night we sat down and had a chat about it, and everyone said, we'll capture something from this.
You reckon this was his best drive ever, do you?
Oh, I've got no doubt about it. I'm sure he'll acknowledge that.
Just talk a bit about the problems that he had during the race, because at one stage he was struggling to breathe and was almost driving one-handed, wasn't he?
Well, it's the visor, we think. We haven't had a proper talk to him yet, but we're assuming the visor was coming undone. And of course, the visor coming undone, you're doing sort of best part of sort of 200 miles an hour down the straight, the air gets under it, and that can be quite difficult.
And during that time, were people encouraging him? Was he moaning? What was going on?
Well, we decided not to talk to him about it because he obviously knew the problem. We couldn't interfere. We had no way of helping him in that particular situation. It was his problem. He had to get on with it.
A word about your other driver, Takuma Sato. He's got his point here.
Yeah, he got a point. He had a challenging race, made a couple of mistakes, unfortunately, and but more points in the bag. We're pulled up closer to Renault in second place.
There are rumours up and down the paddock every day, of course, and we've heard one that Takuma might not be with you next season. Can you comment on that one?
Takuma's obviously, it's early days in this year, and we'll concentrate on this year and getting results for this year for the moment.
Just a word finally then about Jensen. We are wondering about when he's going to win that elusive Grand Prix. Is it going to be this season?
Well, that's the famous question, isn't it? But if it had started from third on the grid, who knows?
Absolutely. David, thank you very much, and thanks for looking after us so well. You can go off and enjoy that now.
Thank
yes.
you very much.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Okay. Mark's in here. Mark, just talk a bit. You've been in the cockpit, you've been in that sort of scenario, about how Jensen coped with all those difficulties.
Well, I think it's a difficult situation, obviously, but what David Richards was saying there, you're at high speed, 200 miles an hour plus, and Jensen said in the press conference that what he had was actually the helmet getting lift. The airflow comes in over the front of the car, gets under the helmet, lifts it up, and literally pins your head back on the headrest. You don't have good visibility, it is difficult to breathe, and it's something which just takes your eye off the ball. I think overall he did an outstanding job to keep his concentration, and that's the real thing that you need during a Grand Prix, concentration.
Just finally, it's a great way for us to take, before we take our break, we have left with a terrific race to remember.
A great race. I think this is the best race for me all season long, but the most impressive thing for me is Jensen Button's performance. He's come of age as far as I'm concerned.
So then here Schumacher wins, that is predictable. Jensen Button runner-up from 13th on the grid, struggling for breath, driving one-handed. That's remarkable. Bye-bye.